check with Adam.
Ready? He's ready.
Yep, call meeting to order.
Okay, good evening.
Good evening.
Thank you so much for having us. My name is Laura Tebow, I'm one of the library trustees. Let me know if you can't hear me, I know it's a little bit muffled in that. I'm Rebecca the Tech, library director, and also here.
Hi, I'm Stephanie Hasselbeck, trustee, and I'm very excited to be here speaking at my first Board of Selectmen meeting.
I'm not your last.
But not my last.
So I think we just wanted to start on a quick positive note by filling you in a little bit on what we've been up to, because times are strange right now, and it's not been normal business, so you want to start with some highlights?
And if you'll excuse me, I'm just going to refer to my notes here so I don't misspeak. This has been quite a year for everyone, and I think now's the time that we sit back and we reflect on kind of the journey we've been on this past year and where we're going for next year. I wanted to speak a little bit about how the library has been navigating and supporting our patrons. Kingston Community Library, we, like other organizations, we were forced to close our doors due to COVID, and that impacted the way we did things, just like everyone else. We reopened our doors on September 1st to the public, and that was a very exciting day. With our doors open or closed, our current staff members have worked to serve the community and assist in any social, technological, literacy, educational. I could go on, so I'll stop here. The library is here to meet the needs of the community. Now, along with curbside and in-person appointments, Kingston Community Library has provided the community with an abundance of virtual and COVID-safe in-person programming. Over the past 7 or 8 months, the library staff was able to provide story walk opportunities and exercise trails, grab-and-go craft kits and program craft kits that have been flying off the table for community members. Have really been seeking those out. We have the Friends of the Kingston Community Library running their programs. We have been facilitating and working with the schools on a program promoting peace and kindness throughout the community, and that is expressed through artwork. If you've been to the library recently, you'll see some of the hearts by one of the artists that they studied. That's really neat. And there's a few other programs paired with a high school, so those will be becoming more popular soon, if you haven't heard about them already. There are outdoor community programs, and we've worked with other community organizations to provide our town and the surrounding towns opportunities to come together during this time where we're clearly very separated, whether it's COVID or opinions and the divide that we see in our nation. So providing togetherness and communication, I think, has been one of our goals this year. When other organizations were backing away from the Red Cross blood drive, we opened our doors and we had a safe plan, and we felt that it was our duty as community members to assist. There's a shortage, so we did our part there. We have wonderful adult and children's programming in person, online, and Zoom. And some of these program sessions have had over 200 people in attendance. So that is it's really wonderful to see. With COVID and the era that we're in now and our culture turning towards Zoom and relying more on technology, the library has stepped up and provided help, education, and opportunity for the community members. Technology is a really broad area. So to name just a few things, we offer assistance with technology help. So if there's troubleshooting with some of the technology, call the library. That's part of our job. If you're on our website, there's a live chat. It's just like a little text box. We can help you with anything you're looking for on the website, or again, troubleshooting or questions about, let's see, I've seen lots of questions about notarizing things, like all things that we we can assist the community with, and we have been. We have indoor and outdoor Wi-Fi, outdoor Wi-Fi, right? You can be in so many different places outside on the property from 9 a.m. to 6 a.m. to 9 p.m., excuse me. So that is something new and we're really excited about. We have indoor and outdoor computer access. So for those who don't have the opportunity at home but don't feel comfortable coming inside, we have that option outdoors as well as in. We have our standard copying, printing, scanning. We have exciting projects like the solar array to be used as educational and wonderful insight for our town. These are just some of the highlights. We thank our staff as trustees and library director every day for stepping into the building with the doors closed or the doors open to the community. They've really, really done a wonderful job. The resources online that have been provided during this technology era and the pandemic for people who are looking for books. And at the time we weren't checking them out. And there's Overdrive, and there are all these wonderful platforms that the library can assist the town with. And as we're seeing the turn in technology, I think that's why I kind of paused on this section to kind of highlight it a little, because it's a new time, and I just want everyone to know that the library can be useful with this, in regards to this. I could go on about a million things, but I won't waste your time because I know we have a long meeting ahead. And I'm going to turn it over to Laura to kind of talk a little more about our packet here.
And does everyone have this? Yeah, lots of good stuff. And as you are all ambassadors of our community, I hope that you'll point people in our direction, because the staff really has done a lot of outside the box thinking, as Stephanie had said, to really figure out how to serve this community during this time. So I think we're really proud of the work they've done, and I hope that you are too, and we'll pass along the word. So the reason we're here is to share that with you, but also we recently met with the budget committee, and they had questions about the salary rates for the library employees, as well as some questions about the salary survey that a lot of folks are talking about. And we're planning on meeting with them this Wednesday to answer those questions, and wanted to have the opportunity to share the same background with you all. And so again, I just really appreciate your time, and we'll try to be brief and answer any questions you might have. So I'm sure, as many of you recall, in early 2019, Kingston participated in the Town of Hampstead compensation survey. I know a lot of departments have been referencing this, and we did as well. We looked at, as a board, we looked at the survey results as well as other information. It wasn't the only thing we looked at. We looked at positions in the surrounding businesses, like where are we kind of getting our competition, so to speak.
Did you say we participated?
Yes. Yeah, you're listed.
Town Kingston didn't.
Yes, we were one of the 19 towns that participated in the survey.
Last page.
Does anyone need
Last
to
page.
come?
Look at that.
5 years ago or something.
See, I never had these last pages, so. Okay, go ahead.
So we reviewed the survey results and, took a look at both other libraries, but also other positions that were comparable to what we were paying some of our employees, such as Walmart and some of the other local businesses, like what are we paying relative to where, what other people are paying in the area. And as we sort of suspected, our rates were really quite low, and it was hard for us to be competitive. We have also suffered some turnover in the last couple of years at the library, and so we've really tried, as a board, to take a closer look at this, understand all the reasons why, and to make sure that we're hiring and retaining good quality folks. And so to that end, and again, this is just a review of the past year, so I'll try to keep it brief, but we reviewed that information, and as a response, we recommended to this board that we add $6,275 to the pay for performance line item, again, in the 2020 budget. That was approved. It was approved by the budget committee. We accepted that change. And those pay for performance increases were distributed to the staff earlier this year. So that was a great first step towards trying to bring up the collective salaries of the library. Again, as you'll recall, in May, this board sent out a letter requesting a reduction in spending, which made a lot of sense given the uncertain times that we were in, and asking people to be really careful, not knowing what the town revenue was going to be like this year with COVID. And so, independent from that letter, the board had already decided to hold off on the intended salary increases that we were planning to do. But we did meet with this board to discuss that, to see what you all, what you all thought about that. We were told at that time, and I guess that was in August. We were told at that time that the planned and budgeted increases were okay to move ahead with. So that brings us to our draft 2021 budget, which of course reflects the new salary amounts that we implemented in 2020. But it also includes what we're calling kind of our phase 2 increase to bring us closer in line with where we want to be, knowing that we couldn't make a huge jump in 2020, but to spread it out over 2 years. And so the 2021 draft budget, if we are able to, see that budget pass and increase the salaries a little bit more, that would bring us to the 50th percentile that's outlined in the wage survey. So I think that's important to note, that we're not looking for Kingston to be off the charts, but we would at least like to be in the 50th percentile in that wage survey. So that would result in an increase of 12.5% in our salaries line item, which is a decent chunk. However, our pay for performance line item has decreased by $11,000. So overall, our total budget increase would be 9.9%. An important note that I just want to raise is that the library budget does include benefits. I know some of the other departments don't include the benefits. The library budget does. The library returns any unspent benefits at the end of the year. In 2019, the library returned $20,000, which was 5% of the total budget. So each year we have to budget for benefits as though, we need them. It's a responsible thing to do. If we hire someone who needs the benefits, sometimes we hire people that don't need the health benefits.
Does that include the retirement fund, Laura? That went up a bit this year, if I remember correctly.
It will go up in half a year in July. July 1st it goes up.
And what's the projected increase, Kevin?
I don't know if I have the increase.
Believe it's 25%.
25%?
At least for group 2, but I think it's even group 1.
We need to have that for your budget.
Right, but I didn't have those numbers when we
Okay.
did it, so I have to.
It's only for the 6 months.
25% for
Yeah.
6 months is a lot of money.
It is, no, it is. I agree,
Is this another thing that the state sends down to school towns?
pretty much.
Just checking.
So
So,
that's
But we
what,
don't have an income tax or
yeah,
something.
so, again, those are the things we don't have any control over, and we include them in our library budget. And so you see a lot of those increases due to the benefits.
and just the benefits this year, the increase is 9.9%. So.
Did you get these numbers from Cindy?
I do get.
All right, I'm pretty sure
every
Cindy
year,
would have included she included the rest of the town.
But I need to go back to her because I think these are from September possibly. But the health benefits, health and dental are updated. It's just the other ones like retirement may not be.
I'll double check.
Yeah, absolutely.
So do you have 7 part-timers and 3 full-timers?
Sorry.
You have 10 people in the library?
Yes, three full-timers and the adult services and youth librarian are not going to be brought up completely to the 50th percentile next year with this increase.
Excuse me, could you be quiet up in the hallway, please? Please?
It's going to take 1 to 2 years to bring them up to 50th percentile at the rate that we added. So we're not even bringing those 2 positions up. The library assistants, the part-timers will be brought up to the 50th or average wage. So the $14 and $16 is what we want to bring up the library
And you
assistants.
did fill the library technology position?
No, but I have a second interview on Thursday for that position, and that is a technical position. It's hard to fill with someone, it requires a master's degree plus networking knowledge. So you're asking for people that have a technical background. And then the salary is still a little low for that, but we're willing to work with those numbers. We didn't want to raise them up too high.
So I realize that's a lot, there's a lot of information, obviously you have review to do, but I think the number that I want to try to summarize is the total budget increase when you figure in year-end benefits return, which we hope we'll be able to do. Is this 2021, Rebecca, or is this?
Yes, that's if we figured the amount of that.
What we typically return.
Yeah, we have an increase of 3.5%. It's a little less than 3.5%. Total increase on the library budget. Based on the amount of money we return each year of the unused money, all the unused money that goes back to the general fund.
In benefits.
We just hold the benefits. The benefits are in our budget, but we have to have those for people who have life changes. So they sit there, unfortunately increases our budget by quite a lot. And then yes, they are guaranteed. We say, we're just holding these, they always go back to us.
So is it just the benefits, Rebecca, that go back to the town? Or let's say that an infotech librarian, you've been trying for a couple of years to get that position. And that hasn't been filled. Do you turn that back as well?
It's governed by an RSA.
Okay,
So
I wasn't
any
sure.
unused town funds that goes back to the general fund. That's the trustees, what they're charged with.
But overall,
That's a
your budget's
requirement.
up. Okay, and but your budget's only up about 3.5%
Yes.
overall.
Yes, based on what we've done in the past.
I just had a couple of questions. One, all right, so Selectmen, we did mention, we asked all the department heads to stop any overhead spending. Police and fire kind of had to keep going forward. But like highway, there's a lot of projects they didn't do that they wanted to do. So are you gonna be returning the, say 10% or something, or did you end up spending all the money for your budget?
No, we're very conservative. We try to be careful all the time with our spending. Right now, an estimate of the benefits that are going to be returned is about $21,000. It's about 5%, a little over 5%.
Yeah, that's benefits. What about just the operating budget?
That money, I'm assuming there's going to be an amount, and I don't know what the amount is because we have to wait for our invoices to come in and close the books in January.
But you would know that, like, you did some projects or something, you said, no, we're not gonna do that because
I
we're
think our
gonna...
biggest expense is personnel, right? Just
Yeah.
like the other departments, we didn't lay off staff, and so.
Which, I'll be honest, I'll be the hard guy. You know, I get it, the library is very vital, and I enjoy the library, okay? But you were open September 1st. I don't understand why you kept all the part-timers and everyone on from March 15th through that time.
We actually had them on furlough for 4 weeks, and the board of trustees decided that they would use their sick and vacation. Now, that's not really something that, it's okay to do that. It's not the greatest situation to do that, but they were amenable to that. So they wanted their jobs. They were laid off for 4 weeks, so we could adjust.
They were furloughed, not they are.
furloughed, excuse me, for 4 weeks. And then they were brought back to do an inventory project. Then we opened up for curbside on June 3rd. So we were actually serving the public on June 3rd through the front door. But we were just going out and meeting people, putting bags out. So we were actually serving people through the March closure to June 3rd by remote services, text support, patron card updates so they could get access to digital services. Our digital services have gone through the roof. They've in the state, it's gone from 1 million uses per year to 1.5 million in about 7 months. So that's just taken off. So people do use the services. We added Hoopla as well, so they could do movies and music and things like that. So
We also added the outdoor Wi-Fi access after we heard from folks who were in a really tight place where they maybe lost their job, they're trying to apply for new jobs online, didn't feel comfortable coming into the library, and so we talked about that a lot as a board, like how can we serve people where they are and what they need, and some people wanted to be able, during the nice weather, to come into the little backyard garden and be able to bring their laptop and just feel more, safe doing that. And so we really tried to figure out how to meet people where they were, what they needed.
Another question I had, so go back to the Wi-Fi part. I know, Rebecca, you came before the board, and you mentioned about your Wi-Fi project doing the whole parking lot, and $5,000. I believe it was consensus of the board that said maybe you should limit it 1/3. Am I wrong?
1/3 what?
1/3 of the parking lot, not the full 5,000. You said you should probably limit it. I think you said it was like 1,500 each plus the cost. And then you went ahead and you did the whole thing for 5,000. And one of the people that did on tonight, we're going to be doing the bid awards, they said at best they could have done it for 1,500. That's if they had to pay 2 people $400 to wire the 3 connectors and equipment. So my question would be, that 5,000, you go to bid, you look, is it just, how did you come to that? Because like I said, I just asked someone for 3 Wi-Fi extenders. They said they could come up with 1,500.
So one of the projects was for the back lawn because we were having outdoor programs. And it was discussed amongst the trustees of what we should do as far as we were having a solar array installed in August, and we had an opportunity for the Cat 6 wire, internet wire to be laid down in that trench to have Wi-Fi available, so we could do great programs back there. We had a program called Google on the Grass. We had a Google grant for $700, Digital Learning Day. And we had Google on the Grass for kids to do programming on the grass. So this was the idea behind the Wi-Fi on the lawn. So that was one project. And so they ran about 500, I think it was 500 feet of wire back to the shed. And they have a transmitter that's on the shed. Then the other project was our transmitters in the library. We wanted to make sure that we could social distance, so we needed to upgrade those. That was a whole separate project to upgrade, I think it was 5 transmitters. We had to have new wiring done in some cases, so that was the second Wi-Fi project. Then the third project was we had 3 transmitters put in, one for the patio, one for the herb garden, and one for the splash room, because we weren't getting signal out on that side part of the library. So the technology becomes obsolete in a short period of time. So the library was built in 2012, and those transmitters have become obsolete. So in order to provide adequate Wi-Fi service, that was a recommendation. So that's what we did. And that project was paid for through Gopher funds. So it wasn't library funds.
Yeah, that's different than what,
Well, it was reimbursed.
but Kevin, what Rebecca just described were 3 different projects. It's
Yeah.
not just a matter of expanding the direction of the Wi-Fi.
But you said it was $5 to extend the Wi-Fi. That's what you came to the board and said.
Yeah, but what she did and what she talked about are 2 different, that's what I'm hearing 2 different things. I'm hearing 2 different.
But then I question, in 2012, it would have been Cat 5 wire, which is still Ethernet. The wire is still the same, but,
But you have to run Cat 6 wire outside because it's weatherproof. So that's the difference. Plus, we also had Vision Energy actually run the wire in the conduit, which was a huge advantage for us. We didn't have to pay for any of that. So I thought, oh, this is a great opportunity. So let's go for it. And the trustees.
Like Lori said, we kind of, as trustees, we've been looking at this time, how can we better serve the community? And with the way things are headed, they're heading to technology and to outdoors. And we took this time to work on a few different projects to improve our outdoor programming and our technology. And most of that was covered by the Gopher grant. And I can see that it looks like a lot because it's all kind of happening at the same time. But one of those things, like Rebecca was describing, is kind of like your cell phone. You have a cell phone, a couple years later, it's not quite working. It's just they want you to buy a new one because the technology only lasts so long. So, a little different, but same gist.
We should, in hindsight, we probably should have done more in 2012 when we built the library in terms of broadening the technology. So,
Yeah.
but another reason I became a trustee for a few years, because I wanted to see the other.
I don't know that one, but no.
Were not done that should have been. The depth of the technology was one weakness, and the depth or lack thereof of a generator is the second weakness at the library. So in fairness, I have.
Okay.
Exactly, except.
And it's the only-
3 different projects, 3
Right.
distinct projects.
It wasn't just extending the simple of things.
No.
And I do remember the specific meeting, and I don't remember numbers, but I do remember the specific meeting where we had 3 different, maybe even 4 different options, and we were pretty conservative, we could have
Okay.
gone to the top, and we chose not to.
All right, I know I'm getting old and my memory's failing me, but it's not failing me that much, but it was that. And then the only other thing I just want to prepare you for, because that's what you came here for, salaries. Okay, I will tell you, on the budget committee, we did have the discussion, you were there. There was 4 members of the budget committee that were there last year, and no one remembers saying to increase the salaries based on the study. And as a selectman at that time and now, we were talking about raising police and fire salaries. Because that was the hardest one, we were getting hit because of all different equipment, training, and everything else. And no one in the budget committee, nor did I remember saying we're going to put in extra money to start raising this scale.
So just in your packet, if you want to take a look, you can look at the January 11th meeting minutes from the budget committee. So that's, that seemed to be approved by the selectmen and the budget committee. So that was an addition to our pay for performance of the 6275. And Alan was talking about that, so
Okay.
that was what I remember.
The minutes have been, yeah.
Yeah, no, I sent them, but no one,
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, that's why we have minutes, because we can rely, I know I can't rely on the minutes.
It was paid for performance, we don't remember saying it was just, we thought it was just paid for performance, whatever, we'll have that discussion on Wednesday, but.
Well, I remember Ellen saying that she was trying to get the salaries up because of losing people to places like, that pay more for simple jobs.
And that's what the quote is in here, Mrs. Fox.
And then she was going to phase it. I do remember her saying she was going to phase it into part last year and part this year.
And it's in the minutes here, quoted here, from a quote from Ellen.
Yeah, it's, Ms. Faulkner requested an additional $62.75 to be added to a new wage adjustment line to be able to bring library employees up to the average salary per the survey provided by the BOS. So, other questions?
I'm all set. Mr. Chairman, you want to ask?
As I came in halfway through, I'll let Dawn continue on.
Okay.
Comments, questions?
So I've included also a survey of this New Hampshire library survey that's included in the packet. So you can look at that. That's a national survey we do every year. So there's lots of extra information, and I'm always available to answer any questions.
Really appreciate your time.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for coming in.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thanks.
The agenda, but I tried to slip in the deputy treasurer appointment. Like I said, it'll be in 5 minutes. She's here with Jane
Okay.
before we get into the 7 o'clock place.
Jane, would you come forward?
Now you get to be loud, so we can.
Twice in 2 days. Hello, everybody. I want to introduce to you Marty Engelson. She is going to be the deputy treasurer. So if I go on vacation or when I go on vacation, she can come in and sign the paychecks. She's been in town a long time. Chief knows her. She's had a few businesses in town, and I trust her with my husband.
And that doesn't happen with every...
No. Watch you. So I wanted to bring her in here to introduce her to all of you. Say hi to Marty, Chief. Oh, goodness.
Is
She's
this,
a great person. I've known her for a long time. Very trustable, very honest person.
Yeah,
I'm assuming that you would be bonded as well?
I'm sure.
As Jane does,
Yeah, Cindy will take care of that.
Is this part of that plan we talked about a few months ago about having backup for everybody? in the
Exactly,
office?
yes. Yeah,
Great.
so she'll meet Cindy, and pretty simple process.
So I think we have to do a formal paperwork and she just gets sworn in, right?
Yes.
You've got an appointment form there to sign.
Oh, okay. There you go.
So if you guys want to appoint her, then I guess Holly can swear her in.
I'll make a motion to appoint Marty.
Edelson.
I'm sorry, say it again?
Edelson?
Edelson as a deputy treasurer for the
Yes.
town of Kingston.
Second. Okay, I got a motion and a second. Further discussion?
Yes, compensation?
Yeah, I
Yes.
think when Fran McMahon used to do it, I think she used to pay her like $35, $40 a week or something. Remember that, Chief?
I believe it was, yes.
Yeah, it was something to that effect.
Is there anything in the budget for it now? Does anybody know? I don't
I
think
think
there
this,
is.
I think the treasurer's salary is the treasurer's salary.
Yeah.
Right. And that's,
Oh, so if you want to deduct it for me, you're more than welcome, Mr. Webber.
or we want to add it to next year's,
It's
Estimate.
very few and far between, maybe a few times a year if I get sick or go on vacation.
okay.
How's that?
Well, we can certainly appoint her and do a more thorough review if you let us get back to you on your final compensation, if you're okay being appointed first.
How many weeks vacation do you have now, Janie? 3?
It depends.
As many as you want? Is that what you're trying to say to me?
Sometimes.
That was not the answer I was looking for.
Whichever way the wind blows.
Never mind.
Concerned about the compensation?
Yeah, we'll have to look at it.
I'm like, I'm not. She's not even concerned about the compensation, so, and if the town doesn't want to pay it, I'll pay it. I'm not really worried about that.
No, it's
I don't think you're gonna have to pay her, we'll figure it out.
Okay.
I don't think it's a matter of not paying her, it's working out the
Logistics.
logistics. Thank you, it's a perfect word.
Yeah.
Anything else? Okay, roll call vote.
Thank you.
Alessio?
Yes.
Briggs?
Yes.
Holmes?
Yes.
And St. James?
Yes.
And Wilson?
Yes.
Okay, all in favor?
Welcome aboard.
Take care.
Bye, guys. Thank you.
Actually, if you wait 2 seconds, we'll sign this and you can bring it right downstairs and get.
Perfect.
Or no,
Hey,
it's
tonight's Monday?
Are they closed?
Yeah, they're closed now.
Oh, yeah, they close it, so.
Yeah.
It's a chance she might still be down there.
You can either take it with you or just next time you come in to go to town clerk's office, you'll have it, please, morning.
No, I'll leave her, I'll take her tomorrow morning. How's that?
Okay.
There's always a chance she's still down there too.
Oh, really?
Maybe, I don't know.
Not today. Tammy's
I thought they closed at 7.
Yeah, but Tammy wasn't
in.
here
Tammy's
today.
in.
I know that, but I'll, might
I
be
don't know.
there.
They were here when I got here at 6, so.
So what should I do tomorrow morning?
Yeah, why don't you do that?
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Okay, next up is Mr. Cobra Raphael of 22 Jericho Drive, regarding the Tormayo gravel pit.
Hello, my name is Matt Taglieri. I am speaking on, in addition to Mr. Raphael. I was here 2 weeks ago to ask several questions about the developments with the ongoing concern Jericho Drive and its neighbors have had regarding the Tormayo Industries operation. I'd like to first ask for an update on what's happened in the last 2 weeks.
I can tell you a little bit. We went to our lawyer. Our lawyer gave us several things. He was going to check in a few, but basically, and you guys can correct me if I say this wrong, but according to RSA, he's not doing anything he can't do. He can go within 50 feet of your property line or 150 feet of the house. Okay? He's checking into if there's anything else that's been written that can stop that. Now, I asked him point blank, I said, does this mean this is not a town issue at all? Should we pull out of it? And he said, I'm not saying that at this point. But he said the town has no liability in what he's doing. You know, it's more of a civil type issue. Making it sound like it would be up to you guys to do something about it.
And we will. We were just, under the impression that, the town was going to be taking
Well,
action on our behalf.
I think we were until he found an RSA that kind of stopped it.
Okay. We may have more to speak about that later, some of these other folks. Well, I guess with that being said, I know when I was last here that there was discussion about maybe you, Officer Briggs, visiting the Tormayo site and seeing if any additional work had been done compared to when you and Quentin went and visited the site. Were you able to do that?
Yeah, we did. We went back there again. I went back twice. So they actually blasted on the east and the west side. And that's where they're blasting now, east and west side. Nothing on the northern face like we've asked them not to do. So there was no more blasting on that north wall. But there certainly was on the east and west side of that.
Was there any other work done, perhaps with, non-blasting, like with tools or whatnot to further, on that north wall? Was there any other work done, not blasting wise, but perhaps with machinery or tools
Yeah.
compared to the pictures that were taken?
The only thing that I think that they did do is what Dennis Quintel asked them to do, is to remove any of the hazards on that wall after they had blasted.
So as far as you can tell, they didn't get any closer to the property.
The blasting, there's been no more blasting on the north wall.
Okay, but have they gotten any closer? I'm not saying blasting wise, with other means that you could tell by looking at the pictures, because you had pictures that were taken when you went with the engineer, and then when you went, it looked the same in terms of.
I haven't been up on top of the wall near your property. I've been going into the pit from that direction and looking at the north wall to make sure there was no more blasting in there.
Okay. Richard, I know when I was here 2 weeks ago, you mentioned you were gonna potentially swing by my property.
And I ended up going out of town, couldn't go by and didn't have any way to reach you.
Okay.
Last minute called it.
Okay. No, I just, I'm coming here as a concerned citizen. I mean, I look outside my window at what used to be a beautiful forest landscape to look at. I'm now looking into a construction site. And every day I'm hearing that hammering and pounding. I mean, I know we say that they're not doing any work, but we're hearing it. They're doing something there, and it's continuing. And we're getting frustrated. We're more and more people are complaining, that more of our neighbors, and we're not going to let this go. I just want to be very clear that this is ruining our property values. It's ruining our enjoyment at home. Every single morning, 7 a.m. till 5 p.m. That's all we hear is that hammering, and it's obnoxious. It's something needs to be done. And if this town won't take action, then we will find a way.
That's an unfair statement. It's not, that we won't take action is an unfair statement. If he's not in violation of RSAs, how can we take action?
But he is. Excuse me, but he is.
Not according to our legal.
Okay, if you want to speak, you can come up to the table, please.
Yes, go ahead.
That's all I have to say. I'll let
I can show you the photos that I took, if you want to see them. On the west wall, they are drilling on the west wall.
We heard.
I'm sorry? Yeah, they are drilling on the west wall, on the back side. They're drilling to blast on the west side. And you can see on the east side where they had made that blast on that Friday, I believe it was.
Somebody tell me to put this back on when I get out. Bob Berg, 18. Matt and Sarah and Jim and Tina. We're set back, as I said, a little bit from the pit, so it's not as bad what we heard. I've got a prepared statement. It should only take an hour or two to say. My time it was 2 minutes if you don't interrupt me, so I'll try to do the best I can here. I spoke with Preston Young from Governor Sununu's office, and he told me that there's nothing that can be done at the state level. It's strictly a town issue. So this is what I heard from Governor Sununu's office. The following might have already been discussed, but I want to mention them. The Industrial Zone Ordinance 107.6 talks about setbacks of development being 500 feet from the nearest residence, I assume property line, not house. It also mentions commercial uses as being 200 feet. Either way, the timber harvesting and probably the expansion of the pit violated that. There's no way to uncut those trees now. Most zoning laws for the town, either commercial or residential, have a standard of no detriment to property values in the vicinity or change in essential characteristics, including the residential neighborhoods, on account of items such as noise, vibration, unsightly materials, etc. Although Mr. Tormeo has an existing permitted business, you'd think a significant expansion and clear cutting of the existing forest would warrant review by the Selectmen, Planning Board, maybe the Zoning Board of Appeals, maybe even the Conservation Commission. The case of Jim and Tina, Matt and Sarah, as well as the rest of our neighborhood, I'm sure property values have gone down significantly due to the noise and the lack of setback. Because of the inaction of the town in enforcing the 500-foot barrier, the town has essentially taken that value from us without our input and have so far not given us any relief. What now is the town willing to do to reimburse us for the reduction? Will our property assessments and taxes be reduced based on the reduction in property value? Also, there's gravel pit and excavation ordinances. Is the work Mr. Tormeo is doing large enough to qualify as a new pit? I also found a aquifer protection district that looks like he might be encroaching on that. The Dory and Hunt Road town forests are in that vicinity as well. I'm wondering if he's encroaching on that. Although this enforcement belongs to the town, state regulation NHRSA 155E2 indicates expansion may be modified by the town if it will have an adverse impact in the neighborhood. Well, it's having an adverse impact in my neighborhood. The board signed off on the permit, and the clearing has egregiously exceeded what was permitted. If you don't have plans to enforce the buffer ordinances, based on whatever excuse you might have, we may have no other choice than to seek a remedy in the courts or elsewhere. And the neighbors are with that as well, as you heard.
First of all, the 500, 200 foot is what we were going after.
Yep.
That's what we understood to be the rules, according to the RSA. Our attorney found an RSA for
Grandfather.
Grandfather.
that was passed by the state that he thought was to keep getting gravel prices down for highway work.
Okay.
That said if he was in business from 89.
I did see some language about that.
So that's why he said we didn't have any way to act on this. Now, what I would like to do is take that guy's name and call him, give him the grandfather clause and see what he has to say about that.
Sure.
See what his interpretation is.
Yeah, it's Preston Young at Sununu's office. Just a generic
Did you get
number.
it, Susan?
Oh, yeah, I've got the name here.
It's a generic number.
Preston Young?
Yeah. If you call the governor's office, they should be able to forward it. If not, I'll figure it out.
So-
And I read some language on that too, but again, just from, this started back in May. I was talking to Jim tonight, and you would think that we would have been brought in as neighbors to at least be informed and talk about this before Jim woke up one morning and looked out in his backyard and it had been clear cut, or was being in the process of being
Well, we
clear cut.
started working on this months ago.
July, yeah.
I think Rich started it with the clear cut because
Yeah, the chief. We thought they were in clear violation.
So, to address two other issues, as far as the timber cut, we have done a pretty deep dive into our role in that whole thing. We are required by law to sign that within 15 days.
Okay.
We can wait 30 days if there's something that has to be reviewed. But all that is an instrument for taxation for the Department of Revenue. It has nothing to do with us going out and verifying anything, or the only thing we're supposed to verify is to make sure that it doesn't have a certain type of land use restriction upon it. I can't think of it off the top of my head, but he doesn't have that there. Now, as far as the expansion of the site, how that RSA is written is his land boundary of that pit on that day when that law was passed in 1980 and it was operating 6 months prior in 1979.
Yep.
That is his envelope to operate in. And he can go right to the edge of that line, and that is not considered, if he had bought, say, someone's house and started blasting there, that would be a different conversation because it would be an expansion of the use. But
If he expands his property.
correct. But if he's keeping it within the lines of his property as they existed in 1979, which this blast does, there is really nothing we can do because it falls under that RSA.
So do we agree with it? Absolutely not.
I think it's crazy, but it's...
So is that your final answer, as the saying goes, is that there's really no
I don't think it's
report?
final. Our attorney's still checking into trying to find anything that updates it or
Doesn't sound like we'll have any-
and I'll make a call to the guy that you talked to and see
I
what he
mean, just
says.
from a good neighbor perspective, I assume you wouldn't like it if I bought next door to you and ran around with it.
And what we're running into is someone from another department, like the DES says, oh yeah, you can definitely do that. And then when you really dig into what they're referencing, it's another department. that will definitively tell you, no, you can't do that. You don't have the authority to do that. And I believe there's 3 separate state entities that we went through that told us, when referenced by another state entity, no, you can't use that to stop.
And then we were always under the impression that they were covered by the U.S. Bureau of Mines, and that turned into be nothing. That went away way back when. But ultimately, because he took down that buffer, that's why everyone is here, that's why you hear it. And that's, Rich jumped right in it. As soon as he found out about the cutting and Rich was involved. But, so that's when we started, the selectmen tried to do stuff, and then found out our hands are tied because of this RSA. He's grandfathered. He was in existence before 1979, so it does away with that 500 and 200 foot buffer. Okay. And we're down to 50 and 100 feet. And there was nothing at this point that we could see. We've tried the timber cutting, we've tried the, going after the mining, the DES, the water, everything.
Okay. Well, what you're saying is you can contact the governor's office.
No, I'll tell him the RSA.
Still have something waiting for something from the lawyers, but you've gone down a number of avenues, and it does not appear at this point that he's doing anything illegal or against the town. And nor do you feel that you have the power to tell him not to do that, even when I read in the New Hampshire RSA that expansion may be modified if it will have an adverse impact in the neighborhood.
155E.
But the grandfather clause that they're reading this says that he can go within 50 and 150.
I said my piece, yeah.
Like I say, I'm not saying that I agree with it at all.
And one more thing, as far as the assessment of your property value, you and any citizen of Kingston has the right to go to the assessor and present changes in your situation. Some cut down all your trees.
I can guarantee you if I go to, Lynn Merrill or a realtor in town and say, hey, what do you think before and after? She's going to say, whatever the numbers are saying anyways, but, 400 right now, you won't be able to get a bid on this. Matt, Sarah, probably unsellable. That property value near zero,
Have you seen how quickly it's going to
But thank you. So more to come. Thank you. Thank you for listening.
I'm actually on the other side of the neighborhood, so I haven't been talking yet. I've been there I was like original member of the neighborhood.
Can you just identify yourself?
I'm Dave Binder, 10 Jericho, the other side. Been in Kingston since 1986, and which is when that neighborhood was developed. So I've been there the whole time. So yes, it's obviously gotten a lot louder. I don't directly abut the quarry, but it feels like I do. So we feel the explosions, we hear the whole thing. I guess my question is, I understand the town, in a sense, has got its hands tied here because if he's grandfathered, you can't do anything about it. But if you don't do anything about it, and the neighbors are going to sue, they're going to sue the town because the town originally had to have developments. When that neighborhood was developed, there had to be rules and abutting rules with that. In order to sell those properties to the people who bought the places, there had to be covenants. There has to be something with that neighborhood that says, he can't encroach X amount. So is there any documentation to that effect at the beginning when that was, because I think it was the attorney that, I think Kalman owned all that land?
It was.
Right? And then his dad, correct? And then it was developed, so that's way back then. What I'm saying is that I understand that the town can't get involved because they're tied on one side. Well, they're going to get in the middle on the other side. So it's in the town's best behalf to do something about this.
We're unaware of any document like that exists. If it does, we'd be more than willing to, look at it. It's not for lack of want to on our part.
Yeah, I understand.
I think there's a perception here that we're not trying to find every avenue to make sure that all legal avenues are approached, because it's important to us to know that your abutter is doing what is legal. If he is doing something illegal, the town needs to come in and do something about it. That's not up for debate. The town has followed every legal recourse that it can. If there is something like that where it requires a buffer or something like that to be in place, we'd be more than willing to act on that, and bring that to our legal counsel and see what they have to say, but to our knowledge, there is nothing like that that exists.
And does the town have any kind of relationship with the owner of the quarry that would basically say, listen, you understand that if you continue this, then the neighbors are going to end up suing us?
I think that's already been said to him, that he's not being a good neighbor. That was said in the meeting.
I think Rick's got the ice.
Yeah.
What bothers them really is DES, Alteration of Terrain Bureau. So they, I might have explained this before, but they look at the footprint, and I think it's, what I tell you, 2.5 acres, is that correct?
Yeah.
They can't expand more than that. I think they told me it was 2.5 acres. And they look at that, and they looked at it one day online and told me, the person that kind of reviewed it, said that they haven't gone beyond that 2.5 acres. So they are actually governed by state law under DES, under the alteration of terrain, as far as expansion. So they govern them for that.
And they brought up satellite pictures and investigated the site when we complained.
They do, and that's what they look at.
And that fits obviously, I mean, it's a lot larger than it was 34 years ago, obviously.
Yeah. Well,
and it keeps coming towards the neighborhood. So, I mean, it's foolish on his part. I'm not saying it's...
And they went over that whole site, so DES and EPA went all through that site in the last 2 or 3 years.
Yeah.
So, and I know that, they looked at the whole site. And I was interested on the pit itself, and they told me that they're within that 2.5 acres. So they haven't expanded beyond that 2.5 acres, is what DES has told me.
I think they just keep working closer and closer and closer to the Jericho neighborhood. That's basically what's happening.
Well, they have...
It wasn't just the one blasted.
Yeah, based upon my request, they have stopped work on that north wall, and I'm going to my understanding, they're not going to continue based upon the conversation Dennis Quintel and I had with them.
Yeah.
That at this time it's not their, they're not going to move forward on the north wall at this time. I think they're waiting for some conclusion from the town as well. That was the last conversation we had. In fact, we went down there a few weeks ago and took some additional pictures. And they did the blast on the east wall. You can see that in the photographs I've taken. And they're working, the drilling you're hearing is on the west wall. That's where they're drilling to blast in the future.
And obviously by them taking down the tree buffer, everybody hears everything so much better than they did before, which is just a ludicrous thing for them to do in the first place. But I don't think they considered it.
That was the worst, and I mean,
I guess the question I'm asking is, does the town have and there aren't a lot of tax-paying industries in Kingston, let's face it, it's a veteran town. So he's one of the few that's in there. Is it the kind of relationship with him that can avoid all these attorneys, which is about to happen, so that you just say to him, listen, is this really worth, the town, let's say there's 20 houses in the neighborhood that say, hey, our $400,000 houses are now worth nothing. That's, $8 million that the town's going to lose in revenue in taxes. The town's not going to like that. Do you understand what I'm saying? Is there a nice way to do this without a bunch of attorneys getting involved? Because they're the only ones that are going to get paid, so.
I have to imagine he's doing what he's doing because there's money there.
Oh, I'm sure there's gravel.
Harvesting that area because it's a better rock, it's better quality. If he's legally allowed to do it.
You think he's just done it?
We obviously want to have the conversation with him, and we've made it apparent that this is not helping the situation for him in the long term, because obviously all the neighbors are upset. Everybody can hear what's going on there a lot more than they could before. But at the end of the day, we have to do what is legally allowed. And, we're not going to threaten him with something else, closing down Gore Road or something. There's been a couple things thrown around, and mostly in jest, but we're doing what is legally allowed for the town to do. And we're not trying to play either side. We're trying to do what is legally right and what is legally allowed. And I think you've heard from everybody here that most of us think it's pretty crazy to just have a wide open pit 50 feet from someone's property line. That's kind of weird. And it's legal. And
Somebody falls in it and gets hurt.
And that's the conversation Dennis Quintel had with him. That's why he wanted to pick some of the loose rock off. He spoke about putting a berm at the top so people couldn't fall off. So there are a number of things that were discussed in the meeting that we had.
Okay. Yeah, I was just trying to avoid the legal end of things. Been around too long to wet things that way all the time, but I'm not gonna happen. Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
We're up the Untitled Chapter, Kingston. So I want to bring up a couple of things here. I just want this on the record. That's why I'm mentioning it. I can see. Okay, on May 11th, you guys gave him a permit to cut 5 acres of lumber. Okay, it was signed by Chief Briggs, Richard. When I called and complained, you guys told us that you have no records of him having any permit for anything and you don't know what's going on. On July 1st, he submitted, the guy who cut the wood, submitted a paper saying that he cut 20 acres, not 5 acres. Okay? Briggs, Richard, and another person here, I can't see his name, signed it on July 20th. That was the time when I was calling, okay, being so scared and being so nervous and asking you guys to please let me know what's going on here. And none of you guys, okay, claimed that you knew anything about what this guy is doing. And you went down and you made a phone call and told him to stop working. But initially, the town hall, the selectman's office, told me that he did not know anything about what's going on. Chief Briggs came down 3 times. I don't know what is going on. I don't know what he's doing. But you guys signed a permit here for him to cut 5 acres, and then he cut 20. And that's
2 intent cuts, correct?
That's during that same time that I was calling every day, begging you to go down and stop him.
Which he told you we legally have to sign intent to cut.
But you made believe, and you said that he didn't know what he was doing. That's what you said.
That's what he said.
That's what you said.
That 200 and 500 foot is what we made him stop cutting on because he gone into that buffer.
You told him he did not know what he was getting.
Listen, we're not here to have an argument about.
We're not. I just want this on the record.
Okay, as I stated,
Okay.
we are required by the Department of Revenue to
Yeah.
have that signed.
Okay.
We have a time limit when that's signed. So that is merely an instrument of taxation. It
Okay.
is not an instrument.
So what?
There were 2 permits filed by Mr. Cormay. 1 permit had been signed by the town. 1 had not. There was confusion as to which one you were referring to because
I am asking about the one that you gave a permit to cut 5 acres, and then in return, he got 20. Do you have an enforcer, town enforcer, to go and check his work when he cuts 20 acres?
again, that is not the town's responsibility. It is meant so that the logger identifies what he's going to cut. It is between a forest warden
Yeah?
and the logger or the landowner at that point. It's
Okay.
not, the town is just basically we're just the person processing the paperwork for the DRA.
Okay, so why? I'd like to know that.
We process like 30 to 40 of those intent.
Okay, so him cutting 20 acres and me screaming and begging you to go down and see what he was doing didn't bring anything to your attention?
Which I
Saying
did.
this guy- didn't stop him from cutting it.
I don't have a helicopter. I don't check town every day. I didn't know what he...
Okay, so we asked.
We've been telling you that.
Okay, maybe I'm a hard hearing. I'd like to hear it again.
That he says the grandfather clause lets him do it.
Okay, so before. Whatever. Okay, so he did. You also told him he needs to clean it up this way it will stay nice and safe. Okay? Well, guess what, Chief Briggs, if you have you know what? I will calm down.
Going to the people.
And trust you to run it down. Okay. So I'm sorry. Mr. Briggs told me that he was.
Sir, we just explained to you at length that legally there is nothing we can do. We are still.
He agreed, okay, to stop blasting, which he did. But he also agreed to just clean that wall. He didn't. He's still moving forward, okay, without blasting. I get. So I'm letting you know, he did that, and he. Feet away from our property, then what are you going to do?
As we've explained, as advised by legal counsel, it's 50 feet from the property line, 150 feet from the dwelling. So that is what we're operating off of. We're not stopping him from doing anything if we can't legally do so.
Okay, so 155E2, that's the one that you guys are talking about. 155E2 says, expansion may be modified if whatever he's doing is having an adverse impact on the neighborhood. We are here to tell you that it is. What are you going to do about it? That's the RSA that you keep bringing out here. What are you going to do about it? It is having an adverse effect on our property and the neighborhoods. What are you doing about it? You contacting your lawyer? That doesn't help me. Okay, that tells you that you have the power, okay, as the selectman, as the ambassador for the town, okay, to go to this guy here and say, hey, this says this, okay, till we reach an agreement until we hear from our lawyers, okay, I don't think you should be working there. But you haven't done that because you think that you haven't found the right words for him to stop working. I'm giving it to you right here.
Well, forgive me if I'm going to trust an actual lawyer and his interpretation of that.
This is not a lawyer. This is the RSA 155-2. This is not a lawyer. I've read this. I've been reading for the last 3 weeks. Okay? Even noise, okay? If the noise is affecting the neighborhood, okay? That's a reason for you to go there, stop and check it. You have the power to do this. That's why you guys are the selectmen. And I know you all guys all work full-time jobs. I know that. I really appreciate that and your volunteer to do this work. I understand that. But you know what? That doesn't help me. That's not helping me. So maybe we need a full-time selectman to be on top of these things. I'm sorry, there's no disrespect.
You're more than welcome to put a warrant article.
No, I don't want to put a warrant. All I'm saying is, please apply this 155E2. That's the one that you gave to us.
You're reading a law and interpreting it to help your situation.
You are?
Okay? No, you are. You're reading that because you're applying that to your situation. What we are told by our legal counsel is that is not the case. And that's what we have to go off of.
I don't know. I think it's written in English.
Is there anything else, sir?
Yes, there is. Go ahead. I want you to hear the noise. This is the noise. Okay? This is the noise that we hear from 6 in the morning till 5 at night, sir. Okay? That's the incident that Miss Electra says that it was an incident. He's been a good neighbor. That was just a small incident. Incident is when somebody opens the door and bumps into your car and you have to fix a dent and you fix it and it's done. Let her hear the incident. Okay, that's enough now. Okay, that's in your backyard every single day.
And that's really much.
From 6 in the morning till 5 at night.
I live on a farm, so that's exactly what it sounds like.
What's that?
I live on a farm, so that's exactly what it sounds like.
Okay, so basically, okay, there's so many RSA, okay, that says that the town, okay, has the power to stop any expansion, okay, or anybody from doing anything if it's affecting the neighbors, okay? And you guys aren't doing anything about it. You just talk about it. You just say, okay, I'm gonna go ahead and take pictures. I'm gonna go ahead and make sure he's not expanding. I'm gonna go ahead and make sure that he's not doing this, he's not doing that. But that's not helping us, okay? Because if he continues to work and move forward without blasting, trust me, he has the equipment, okay? And the capability, okay, of breaking rocks and moving forward towards our house, okay, not dwelling, without blasting. He doesn't need to blast, okay? And that's what he's been doing since we left here the last time, okay? It's been almost what now? 5 weeks, whatever, okay? I think he's done clearing to make it safe, but he's still working there. And you guys should go there and take a look. I don't need to be here telling you all this. Go take a look. And if you really care about your residents and the properties and the value of the town's residents, and you call yourself good ambassadors, then you should actually go down there and find out what's going on. I don't want to be here, okay? I just discovered I have cancer. I don't want to be here, but I got to deal with this, okay? So that's why I'm here telling you this is what's going on. At the end, okay, what we're going to have to do is go hire a lawyer, and everybody in the neighborhood is going to pitch in, okay, and we're going to sue the town. That's what we're going to do, unless we see something from the town, okay, saying this is what we're going to do. So let's just stop playing games, okay? Initially, when we came here, okay, I had some hope that you guys might take some actions, but I know this guy, he's been in the town for a long time, and he knows a lot of people here, okay, and he knows some of you here, okay? And that should not be fair, okay? I think you guys should take the actions to protect the residents, okay? And I don't need to tell you what steps you could do to take actions to stop him from moving forward, okay? That's my concern, is stop him from moving forward, okay? And let's come down and do something to basically fix what's going on.
Are you willing to take public comment? Evie Nathan is on here. I believe she wanted to speak to the DES and the restoration plan that they monitor. Did you want to get into that?
We're not at public comment.
You were not at the public comment period, but I didn't know if you wanted it now or later.
We'll take it in order of the agenda.
Okay.
So can we hear something from you guys about if there's anything that you could do here? Like, think about it, okay? See if there's something that you could do to stop him from working, okay? Not just by him giving you a word, but actually stop him. Like, why does he need to come in another 30 feet or 40 feet? Why? For what purpose? To make an extra $100,000? But he's also affecting, like, the neighborhood big time. So for him to make $100,000 and don't care about us and bring our value down more, that's not being a good neighbor. That's not being a good neighbor. And for you to just sit there, okay, and not take actions on something that we could just hold on to, okay, or we could say at least this here gives us some hope, okay, that we could go with this, even if he's grandfather then, because this is what this talks about. If he's grandfather then, and he is having an adverse effect on the neighborhood, the town has every single option to stop him from doing any further work. You just send a letter to him. That's all you gotta do. Thank you.
One other question, last time I was here, the attorney had recommended a site walk, and the entire town was going to be invited to this site walk. Based on this latest development, can the town say that has officially been canceled? That they're no longer going to be doing the site walk? Or is that scheduled for another point?
I'm still waiting to hear back from them. They were talking to their attorney and their insurance company.
Their attorney was worried about liability.
Yes, when we get
No, I'm not talking with you. In general, Chief, is there, the sound ordinances apply to commercial as well as residential? In other words, if there's so much noise going on all the time that's disturbing, is that enough reason to keep them from being in a certain area or not?
The big problem is the grandfathering ordinance, the grandfathering.
No, I understand
So
that.
that, the whole big issue with any of the statutes that we refer to is the grandfathering. It would have been a lot easier if the place wasn't grandfathered, then you find them in violation and you move forward. So the whole big issue here is the grandfathering.
And that would involve the...
Many different things. So who has, it looks like now that I was able to find that the Bureau of Alteration Terrain with DES has the most authority right now to regulate him based upon that footprint. That's what I was informed by DES. So what our attorney did tell us was to take photographs. He doesn't have to abide by my request to stop working on the north wall. He has done so because I requested it. He said that we can go in, the selectmen can go in there at any time, take pictures, do whatever they want to do. He has no problem with that. He doesn't want someone getting hurt here. I disagree with the previous speaker. I've taken photographs and show where he is blasting. He was told by Dennis Quintel to pull some of that product down, and there's still more that's laying there that's loose. So I really don't know what he's speaking about, because he's done what Dennis Quintel has asked him to do. He's not blasting on that north wall anymore. And legally he could. Based upon what we're told, legally, he can go back in there and blast on that north wall. I've asked him not to do that until we can get some final conclusion based upon what our attorney directs us to do.
So the grandfathering would include any kind of disturbing of the neighborhood, any kind of sound ordinances, even though it's...
Yeah, because he's grandfathered based upon, I don't remember what year it was, 1968?
1979. He started in
1979, based upon that date. And even when I talked to 2 or 3 different bureaus of the state, they informed me the same thing, that he may be grandfathered based upon that. And they sent me to the alteration of terrain, who would have more authority over him, or EPA. So they said more so based upon the pit. And they, excuse me, they were regulated by the Bureau of Mines way back then. And then it's MSHA, Mine and Safety, which is like OSHA.
Yep.
And they regulate them. And one of the reasons that they were pulling stuff down from that blast when they did it.
The safety issue was...
Well, the safety, they have to have the berms, can't let stuff hanging over the roads, that type of thing. So Dennis Quintel suggested that they pull that stuff off the embankment, and he also suggested they put a berm on the top of dirt, so someone can't
fall into it in the middle.
So someone can't fall off, right? So that's kind of where it sits. He's agreed to stop based upon my request to stop at this time, and I think they're waiting for the town to get back to them when we have a final word from our attorney.
And your attorney is still working on this. He said the initial understanding is that it's grandfathered, he's going to look into it further, and he'll contact the state in that case?
I'm sorry?
Will he be contacting the state? Remember where somebody was asking about
I'll let him, we'll let him know the person that you talked to or that they talked to and see if, how he feels about that.
So the places they're looking to blast next, if you look at the photographs I took, so on that Friday, they blasted, I can show you the photographs, they blasted the east wall, and that's what they've been cleaning up there. And where they're planning to blast next is on the west wall, and what they're drilling, they got one of those big drill machines. They're drilling the holes up on the far west wall. And when I went there, that's what I see them cleaning up, and that's what I saw them drilling up on the west wall.
Yeah, I'm just wondering if, with the good neighbor thing, if he cut down all those trees, obviously if the trees had not been cut, none of this ever would have happened, right? Because nobody would be hearing it like it is. Well, the blast would have heard, but it wouldn't be the same thing. I'm just wondering if it's simple enough to ask the guy, listen, just build, the walls that they put up on highways that are those huge wooden things that basically keep neighborhoods safe from the sound.
That discussion was had on site with Dennis Quintel and myself.
Okay.
And Mr. Torromeo's site foreman. And Dennis asked him for now to put a berm of dirt up in there.
Right, I understand that. I mean more as a permanent solution.
Yeah, so that was going to be the first proposal, and to find out where we stood with our attorney, what we could mandate and what we could ask them to do. And that's kind of where we're at right now. Fortunately, he agreed to stop blasting on that wall, which is good for the neighbors. And by the way, that is probably where the best rock is, so I'm sure he doesn't want to stop on that north wall. So right now, that's where we stand.
When should we readdress, what do you think for time period before everybody shows up again?
Well, I think there's 2 things that are still up in the air. If he'll allow the neighbors to access the property on a sidewalk. And when the attorney gets back to us based upon what the chairman's spoken about.
And yeah, I mean, I think we'll follow up with the contact from the governor's office, who seems to think there's some instrument at our disposal to regulate this, because what we're hearing is there isn't.
So I just wonder if that statute that he was just mentioning actually would supersede any kind of grandfathering, because it's
The whole reason the state did this is because they saw what was happening in Massachusetts as land was getting developed around quarries. Quarries were having to shut down because of noise and sound and, all these violations that you guys are experiencing. So the state went way the other way with this law and just said, well, we're gonna protect these guys because we want.
The 300 foot.
This is the
50 feet.
No, the original, not the 50 thing that we,
Well, the original was 200 and 500.
Right.
That's what we wrote.
correct, that's what I
But that was after all this other.
Yeah.
I would say it's a noise, as much as you won't want to hear it, that's typical noise you would hear for a quarry.
No, but
So if
like I
they
said,
operate in the hours of operation, I don't see how that would give us the key.
But like I said, I've lived there for 34 years. I work out of the house. I have a home office, so I can tell you it's a hell of a lot louder now. And
I think the trees, all the trees are gone.
So
Yeah, if you look along that whole northern bank with the photographs that I've taken from the inside, you can see that whole line of trees is gone.
right.
And so that's why Dennis and I have gone down twice now and looked at that. And I think I discussed it with you, sir, that putting something like a highway barrier, soundproofing fence, like they have on
Yeah,
major
those
highways.
ones that are just interlocked and both.
Yes, yeah, that's one of the discussions that we've had.
Well, I'm just thinking maybe as the quote, if you kind of say to them, listen, you don't have to do this, but if you don't, this is what's going to happen in the town, and it's really not going to be good for us. I always like to avoid the attorneys. I said that before. I mean, you guys get it. We've all been there before. So we made a couple more weeks, and is there a way to be notified as to what the attorney says? Do we have to come back to the meeting, or can someone get a call?
Yeah, well, once we find out something. I'm scared that the guy at the governor's office found the first thing that said that they could do this or we could stop them, and he didn't look beyond.
Correct.
Like we
They
did,
don't have-
like we did in the beginning.
Right, so they have to all be on the same page. So
Right.
Yeah, I mean, we've gone through the state fire marshal's office, the state police, the DES, the EPA, MSHA. Am I forgetting anyone? There's two other ones, I think, that we have run this down as far as we can run it down to find any area that we can take enforcement action upon. We've had the town planner, we've had the Rockingham Planning Commission involved. None of that is turning up anything that is giving us anything with any teeth to, change the situation from what it is right now. And it would be great in an ideal scenario, we'd be like, hey buddy, come on, take care of your neighbors. But he could just say, no. And that's kind of where we are.
Maybe he won't. That's I guess.
One thing we're finding more responsiveness from as well is main drilling and blasting. So I'm sure that my conversation with New Hampshire State Police, their explosive units, who regulate them now, he called and said that they wanted to blast, and I said, you cannot touch that north wall. If you do, there's going to be an issue. That's the agreement we have at this time. And they assured me they wouldn't. I've asked if they notify the neighbors in at least 24 hours in advance. And also they have to do an hour prior to the blast, is my understanding. Is that correct? Is that what you're getting, an hour prior to and at least 24 hours out? Is that what they're doing now?
Well, not to me. It would be you guys, right?
Most of the time, sometimes it's not always an hour.
But the last blast that I had a conversation with, did they do that?
Yes, they called an hour before.
20, at least 24 hours prior to and 1 hour before, is that what they did? Okay. That's what I was told they were doing.
Yes.
And so each time they're going to blast, they're going to call, and so we make sure they're not blasting on the north wall. That's kind of the agreement that we have.
But Chief Briggs, we also agreed to stop working.
All right, sir. Listen, we're going in circles here and we have more appointments this evening, so unless there's another question or something new. Thank you.
No, thank you.
Okay, next up, we have Jim Dufresne with the Hawks Ridge update and information from the site.
So I can't do it.
You want a 5-minute break?
Yes, yeah. Something else too.
I was unable to attend the site walk.
Me either.
chief and I did.
Did we get anything from Dennis? Reference that?
You looking at me for that? No, I didn't get anything, Dennis.
Did anybody get anything?
Not after the sidewalk, I don't believe.
So my understanding is we did walk the whole site. We looked at the roads, the driveways, the house that got moved across the street, supposedly the open land up above. We looked at everything. The one house that we did speak of that was all finished on the outside, we looked at that one. And there's a short swale, Richard, if I'm wrong, please correct me. There's a short swale that needs to be put in to finish those two houses, and then they'll be in compliance. The upper road, which is, Jim, what's the name of the upper road?
Mulligan Way.
Mulligan, they can build to the current plan, is that correct?
Correct.
So therefore, it would take him a week to do that swale to get it done, or 3 to 5 days, right, is what he said?
That's what Mike Barnes told me. On bent grass, the two houses that are not finished, and there's some swale work that has to be done. There are two culverts that have to go on that side of the road, and some swale work that would have to get done. And he'll get in there, if not this week, he'll be in there next week to take care of that part of the road.
That would put them in compliance for those two houses, is what my understanding, what Mark, Dennis, and
Charlie Zilch.
And the rest of it can be built per plan. So therefore, that's kind of where we left it. They've done
I think basically they've done a lot of work to get it going, get the plans back into proper order where they can. And Dennis is working with them closely, and he seemed to be satisfied.
Yeah.
I was reading a sheet that I guess Jim typed here, and the only thing that I question on that is the $100,000 bond for paving. Who came up with that figure?
Actually, Dennis Quintel did a list of items back over a year ago for paving of the roadway and the driveways. And those two amounts add up to about 100 grand.
Well, that's the only thing on here that I would want to verify, and then I really think that it's in the best interest of the residents up there to give them the chance to go on in good faith to do some of this work, because there's one house is really unsightly, another one that's finished and just needs to be finished inside, which in hand will give him some income to do more of the work.
Well, on the paving part, I talked to my paver. He wants to go in and start doing driveways next year. And when everything's all built, then he does the road. And I'm not a paver, but I guess what you do is the driveway, the top coat. You have to grind out by the road when you go and do the final top coat. So there are houses, this time of year ain't gonna happen, but there are houses out there because of the culverts that were put in, or it didn't have to be put in. We can start paving those driveways. In talking to Dennis, what the town likes to do is say on a road, I can't speak for Dennis, but it's what he told me, whatever the cost is to pave the road, he holds back 10% for a year, in case there's a problem.
Right.
So it isn't like you release all the money for the top coat of the road. And I'm gonna give Dennis a schedule where the first 10 houses, we won't be looking for release, but after that, we would be on all the houses when they're built.
All the residents were very anxious for their driveway to have the final coat on them, because some of them are wearing down to the stone because it's been...
And those sections have to be cut out. We have to bind or shim them before we do a top coat. I know that much about paving.
But my question, like I say, would be the $100,000, whether that's an accurate figure to cover bonding that road in that area. Because the neighbors have a little fear that, we'll get into this again and then it'll all stop again.
But there's really nothing that makes us bond the road. I think the road should get bonded because what guarantee does everybody have that this top coat is going to get put down?
when all the houses are done.
That was their concern.
I hate to say it, but
Their concern was they wanted a bond, so that part get done at the end.
So can we approve his request for release except for the bonding of the road until we get an exact number from Dennis and Patel?
Well, the bonding wouldn't happen anyways until you go for foundation. It's
for the last
foundation
lots,
permits.
the bond would get posted.
It's 4 on the top lot, 4 on the bottom.
No, it actually it's 1,
2, 3, 4.
There's 4 of them, one on bent grass between 2 houses that are down on the left-hand side going up, then the first one on the right, and then the second one down on Mulligan before the house that's already there on Mulligan in Lane Unit 20. So there'd be 4 lots that we wouldn't go for foundation permits for until that bond was posted.
So I know there was a question on it, maybe you could explain to the board, the house that was moved across the street. Could you explain that and what's going to be happening there?
What was done was, they thought they could move a house across the street. You couldn't do it. And that, I filled that hole, and Charlie Zilch is coming up with a plan showing Lane Unit 20 backward shows in the original approved plan with the town, and Lane Unit 4 adjusts a little bit on the right, on the same side of the road that was originally approved for. And Charlie Zilch will take care of that, and that will get recorded within the next couple weeks.
But then there's the one lot that was in front of the other 2 houses.
That's Lane Unit 20 that was approved on the plan.
It was approved with those other houses in the same location?
In the Lane Unit area. That'll end up being a civil issue between the owner of the lot and the people who live in the houses.
But physically, it won't fit there.
It will fit there.
Will it? I mean, we walked over.
I already had the engineer come out and stake it out. You're gonna be 25 feet away from the other houses, and it has to be inside the Lane Unit area.
Very small.
And like you said, if the other guy has
And that's one I wouldn't even go for a foundation permit for. Even though it's one of the 4 after we post the bond, I personally am not going for a foundation for that. If somebody else wants to, that'd be his choice.
And then, Rich, do you ever follow up with the question of the gutters?
We talked about the gutters there. Just about everybody's put their own gutters in.
Yeah, that's what's the comment was. They put most of their own in.
Are they tied into the stormwater system?
I don't know the answer to that.
That was the question.
They're either going like towards, in fact, the ones I saw, the downspouts were turned towards.
There was a new alteration of terrain permit issued by the state where he didn't have to do that. It was just never brought before the town.
I mean, there's a lot of swells throughout the place. There's a lot of catch basins. There's a lot of,
I'm okay as long as Dennis Patel signs off that.
That's what I said on the site. I said, it's not me you have to make happy, it's Dennis. If Dennis tells me he's happy, I'm happy.
Yeah.
And I mean, the work's gonna get done. I think the big thing is, how do we guarantee the road will get paved? I live there. So I wanna see that road get paved.
No, I agree with everything he had.
That was Dennis's big thing, was protecting the residents by having the road bonded. Now, I thought he wanted the road bonded before we let anything happen to make sure that it happened. But that's something we'll have to ask Dennis about, details on that.
Didn't he know we were meeting tonight? Did he not know we were meeting tonight and wanted an answer from him?
Well, you wanted the board to discuss the walk and to see what our thoughts were on it. And then he was going to work with
Charlie
Zilch and
I have no problem agreeing with Dennis says for a number for paving. All I did was take his list of the 40 items he had back a year and a half ago. He had top coat of the road, he had driveway, he had a number, and if I'm off a couple of grand, that's all I'm off.
what's the other engineer's name that was with him?
Bill Hall. He's out in Andover. He's working with Charlie to wrap up the grading, what has to get done out there in the project.
What I look at is still protects the town with the bonding for the roads. He doesn't get his permits from 4 until that bond put in place. And then any homes aside from those 2 don't get an occupancy permit until everything's signed off by Rich.
And I would really appreciate if Rich came out and inspected these driveways, because this would have all came up in the first house when he didn't have to inspect the driveways.
Well, I
But that's
think the
the
problem with
area.
that is gonna be is what standards is he inspecting it to? Because this is a private road that doesn't meet town standards.
Well, the road was built to town standards when we built it. The first section that I built, when Dennis came up there, it was built, the gravel was the same, the swales were in. When the guys all come in and built houses, they just filled the swales.
I thought there was some issue with being able to get two vehicles past each other or something like that as far as the.
Oh, it was the width that the town wanted.
I guess I'm hesitant to task Rich with doing something that isn't gonna meet our regulations in the first place. Like, if you can't sign off on it because it doesn't.
Well, I think if he signed off on it, if it needed a culvert, the culvert's there, and the driveway was paved and the swales are there, I guess that's all he has to sign off on. We're not looking for him to accept the road.
He can't, it has to be done at the town meeting, I think.
Well,
But the width isn't to build the town spec.
I'm just saying you can't go in on a private road and approve driveways.
If I give him my permission, can he do it?
It opens the town up to a lot of liability if
Oh.
something happens, especially because this was built
Well,
as a
now-
private road from the beginning and now it's.
Now with Mike Vine's out there, the culverts are being put in before the houses are starting to be built. So as the foundation goes in, the culverts are going in, the swales are going in, there is not going to be a house built until that's taken place. But again, I have no problems with somebody signing off. On that's the only thing on 26 occupancy permits that are approved by the town. It is not signed by the road agent. All the other signatures are on there. Even Chief Briggs is on there for the E911.
But
And she knows
I
what
think
they
you're
do.
right. I don't think
We
Rich
call
needs to
copies.
sign up because it's private property.
I mean,
Is Rich still out there?
Yeah.
Thank you.
So was there a section of this that is built to the site plan?
Yes.
Are there two lots in here that are outside of the area that we're having issues with?
Well, there's one house that they moved that is now facing, is it Bent that's facing?
It was always on bank grass. It's in a little different spot than it was
Right.
originally approved.
Basically, the road curves around and it was supposed to be here and now it's over here. I can't tell that it really made any difference. It was still the same amount of free land and everything.
Didn't he, when he put in the illegal foundation, he moved that house over. But if that house is gone, that gives the right of way to get in and service that septic area and all that stuff.
They did tear that
Yeah.
foundation out.
So if the house is off a little bit.
And if you're at court, I went to court when Bob took the town to court, the judge said that the house is not going to be moved across the street. Houses can be moved inside the limited common area spot, but he said it ain't going to happen moving across the street.
We're talking about the occupancy permits. And he's saying that you haven't signed off on them. We're saying well, you don't need to because it's private property, correct?
That was the decision of the planning board back, what, 7, 8 years ago when it
Yeah.
all started, that because it was a private road, that I had no business being in there signing off on driveway permits. And, I mean, Jim and I kind of joked back and forth. If I was involved in signing off, this stuff would have been caught on the first house that went for approval. So perhaps that was a mistake on our part, but it is a private development. So technically, I have no jurisdiction on private road. But I have no problem being involved to get the town through this mess.
I guess to your question, does that open us up to any liability if you did inspect a driveway on a private road?
Since you don't know what's under the binder.
I can tell you it was basically built to the specs, and between Dennis and myself, you guys, the two parties here have got to come up with a solution for the problem. What's the solution gonna be, and is it built there?
I think we need to move forward on this, guys.
Yeah, no.
And let's get, you know,
And I guess that's what I'm trying to, there are 2 lots that are outside of the issue area.
Yeah.
I think as long as we can confirm with Dennis that he has no problem releasing those 2 lots from the cease and desist, so that Mr. Dufresne can move forward on those 2, and then,
Well, the remaining houses can be built per plan.
I'm sorry?
The other houses can be built.
All the other lots, the house will be built to the plan, the culverts with the swales, and I'm just looking to guarantee the town, I post the bond, hold back 4 building sites until that bond is posted.
The other 2, the only thing they have to do is finish that swale, right? That's what everybody spoke about.
Which one?
The 2 that are half
The 2 houses that are up, one needs a culvert, the other one doesn't, and another house that's existing needs a culvert, and the swales need to be created to connect everything together. There's already catch basins on that side of the road.
So there isn't much work to finish those 2.
The only other thing I would ask, seeing that one house that's not finished, the ugly unsightly.
It is inside.
Right, there's that one there, and then there's the foundation is gone. But the house that is finished on the other side of that, should both those houses be deeded or a covenant that states they can't put a pool back there or something where that's a service way for the legion?
Well, it's common area, it's not limited common area. Limited common area of the houses is for the exclusive use of the people who live there. The spot where there's not a house built would be common area, where no one can do anything there, and they'd use it for access if they ever get into a leach field.
I just would hate to see someone put something up that blocks it, that all of a sudden.
Well, that would be with the association, then someone going before them for a vote.
Okay.
Yeah, we had a similar thing on King's Landing where they wanted to, basically where they were allotted a patio area, it was right next to their generator and their gas meter, and there was no room for it, so they had to come to the board and request that they could change around the.
All right, as long as it's, because that's the whole purpose of the thing. He put the house a little too tight on the other end to service it, and this was going to be the service way.
No, it'd be common area, not limited common area.
I feel like this is kind of a catch-22 type thing, that if we don't allow him to go on, it makes it tough to get the work done, makes it tough to make the changes. You know, you need some income to put the outgoing. Dennis and Charlie felt like they could work everything out, that if it wasn't exactly the plan, they could make it to where it met the intent of the plan. And they were gonna work through that together and then make one approach to the planning board to get approval and everything. So they weren't there time after time to, pick out on one detail each time. I'm fine with this, other than the bonding, I'd want to check with Dennis when he wants the bond and for how much.
Well, the only thing you'd have to do is lift the cease and desist. And because he could build the other lots per plan, per the current approved plan, and get permission to build finish the other 2 once that swale is done.
And I'd hold off for 4 of those lots until Dennis came up with his number, but all I did was take Dennis's number.
Well, it might be
from a year and a half, but it might be a little bit more.
I would be in favor of lifting the cease and desist and following the letter of this with the discretion of figuring out what this dollar amount is. But I'm okay.
Dennis says the final number.
That's down later, and we still protect the town because we're holding off on 4 building permits.
Second. How's that?
Yep, that works for me.
Okay, we've got a motion and a second. Further discussion. My only concern would be, I'm gonna go ahead and start the discussion. My only concern would be just checking with Dennis and verifying all this. Not that we don't trust you, Jim, but just, I
trust the
pending Dennis's approval.
Vote and pending his approval.
Do you accept that friendly amendment?
I do accept that friendly amendment.
Further discussion.
So Kevin, that was to lift the cease and desist and go to the,
With this letter, with the exception of figuring out that bond amount and Dennis's approval.
okay, exception of,
The bond, the amount of the bond, which may be more than the 100,000 that's printed here,
okay.
and upon Dennis Quintel's approval,
Okay.
which we need to get by Friday. How's that sound? So we know what the hell's going on here.
Okay.
Okay.
You want a roll call?
Yes.
Alessio?
Yes.
Briggs?
Yes.
Coombs?
Yes.
St. James?
Yes.
And Wilson?
Yes.
Now, I have one question. Will someone be able to talk to Robert Stewart and explain to him what you're waiting for? And I'm hoping to get foundation permits by the beginning of next week, if I went in this week with the applications. There are only 2 foundation permits I'm looking for. The other stuff with the building, I have no idea how all that's going to work. The guy doing the building is probably going to sell it to somebody else, and they got to come in and make sure everything's whatever they need for permits with Robert.
We'll let Robert know there's 2 foundation permits, LU 31 and LU 33.
Yep.
I mean,
I know he's busy. I hate to see him take off for Christmas break and everything gets delayed even further with the foundations.
So who's going to do that?
Susan?
Just let him know what you decided tonight.
Yes.
You want me to follow up with Dennis?
If you could, that would be great.
Okay.
Thank you.
Merry Christmas.
Is that it? Merry Christmas.
Okay, next up is the Fire Station Building Committee. Plan review and water system design.
Good evening. Chief, you have no power at your house, I'm just saying. You have no power at your house.
We lost it.
Shore Road, and a couple of big trees came down.
This is like the last place to get put back on, isn't it?
The last
You're in it, you're not, you didn't tell you that.
Well, the funny part, 2 houses, I have power, he doesn't.
You didn't cut the tree down, did you?
He doesn't need power.
So this is just a quick update as far as the building. SMP, the architects now have the 90%, what they'll call 90% plans complete. So structural, mechanical, we have a full set of what they'll call 90% complete plans. They've gone to Bowen, so he's looking at those as well. The only, backing up to the fire suppression, we picked Fernandez Fire Protection out of Byfield, Mass. to do the fire suppression design and specification for the fire suppression system on the building. So that's done. We have a good set of plans for sprinklers, the pump sizing, all the piping, the risers is all set. What he does not do, he'll tell us the amount of water we need. He doesn't design cisterns, right? So the problem that we're having is we can use multiple precast concrete cisterns, but we'll have to parallel them together. So we need about 60,000 gallons of volume to get the 45,000 gallons of usable water. So we really need what I'll call a quarterback or a referee to go out, look for cisterns. You can do precast concrete, but we're probably going to have 8 precast concrete tanks all kind of parallel together into a well to get the water we need into the building. The problem with that, with the SFC, takes a look. They're another fire protection, the town engineer. They're really concerned. You know, we met with them and Jeff Murphy says, what are you doing? You know, don't go with 8 precast. Something's gonna settle 5 years down the road, snap a pipe, and all of a sudden we're pulling it up. So we really asked SFC if he could take a look at steel. So it would be an underground tank, probably 60,000 gallon steel tank, 5-glass tank, or if it's cost effective, a precast, something bigger, so bigger precast tanks. So that's part of this purchase order. There's about $7,000 as part of this purchase order that we're present to you tonight to do what we'll call a water supply layout for the fire station. It's probably going to end up being like a 60,000 gallon horizontal tank fed into a vertical tank that's going to go under, into the fire pump room. So we'll have two tanks, one being big, one being small. And we use the vertical tank as the well, where the vertical turbine will just sit in there. It's about 16, 17 feet of total turbine length. But the fire suppression engineering firm that we use just doesn't do that, because I don't design tanks. I'll give you the capacity, I'll give you what you need on your fire pump, 750 gallons per minute. I do all the risers and all that, but you have so many options with the cistern. So that's one of the parts of this purchase order. The other component of that purchase order is we had talked about having a clerk of the works to take a look at the site plan and the overall drawings. So the 90% drawings, once they're issued, have a real skilled engineering firm come in and take a look at the progress of the project. So in this purchase order, there are 10 site visits. They will take a look at all code compliance as far as building construction, structural, site and civil site work. They'll look at the building code compliance, and then fire protection and all the code compliance as far as that goes. So SFC is not only a fire protection engineering firm that the town utilizes quite a bit. They're also a structural and a civil engineering firm as well. So we had talked about previously hiring a part-time clerk of the works for Kingston's eyes on this project.
Actually, when we talked about this last year, you spoke absolutely against it. Rich St. Clair backed you up, said, if you need a clerk of the works, you've got the wrong GC. Did that quote? I mean, now you're coming back and saying you want one.
Well, he's not going to be the clerk of the works. He's going to take a look at our specs and our blueprints for code compliance.
Don't we have a building inspector for that?
You do. If you feel the construction and
it's above his.
It's within
above his level.
Okay, well, we're paying 3 people to do this. Are we adding a 4th? I mean, we've got Ballin, we've got the engineering firm, and we've got a building inspector. Between those 3 people, we don't feel confident enough that this can get built?
So the first thing, and if you want us to knock it down and just tell SFC, we just want him to spec out the cistern. None of those 3 people can do that.
We have to get that
for this.
I got that part.
The other things is many stations in the area, such as many area stations, not going to name names, have been built and then something was awry, meaning their EOC didn't meet EOC specs and they couldn't get granting from Seabrook or the state. So things had to be fixed. So this would prevent that from happening, meaning, and again, I'm not into spending more money than necessary, but I also don't want to come back halfway or 3/4 through the project and say, oh boy, we should have done that, we should have had that looked at. So, unfortunately, Anthony's company, SMP, they don't specifically build fire stations. They have fire stations under their belt, and they have done, but with many fire stations being out of Seabrook and out of the zone of, being able to attain those assets from the state, they don't know everything about that. Same thing with Bowen, they're general construction, so, you know a lot about gravel work, but you don't know everything that there is. So we're looking to just hire this company, which also did the highway department and works as the town capacity for us to make sure that all our T's are crossed and I's are dotted and we don't have a black eye as a fire department and building committee when we turn the building, or when the building's turned over to us.
What was the cost of that?
$27,000.
I was for a clerk of the works when we talked about this, and I got shot down by everybody.
Well,
I mean, I thought it was
I
very
think we were
large.
talking a full-time clerk of the works at that time.
I think you're right, yeah, I remember 27,000.
Right.
We were saying cost to,
I think
we were to
talking
60.
40 to 50.
Right.
I thought we were over even, I thought we were in the 60s.
I think it's important because we're talking about the cistern. Well, the cistern does not only feed the new station, this building, the other building. So we're talking about protecting 3 town buildings, and we certainly don't want something shifting so we can't use these buildings like they couldn't use it many years ago, based upon not having fire protection.
So the bottom line is this is above and beyond what's been budgeted.
I mean, it can come out of impact fees. That's what we run from. It is not part of the bond.
So 27,000 is for the whole project, not just the cistern.
Correct.
So that's not broken out between the two? It seems like there's 2 requests here, a clerk of the works and a cistern design.
It's one quote right now.
It's all, I guess it could be 2, if we wanted to separate it out like that, but we thought the need for having, again, just all there's so many, the building codes of 2015, the NFPA codes, all that stuff, and that's where the clerk of the works thing came in. They talked about, did the library have one?
Doesn't matter.
It doesn't.
I don't think so.
They didn't run any wires apparently.
It makes sense, but I hear you asking, you're asking $27,000.
Yeah, that would be that fee.
And I think we should go for it, I support it, and I'll tell you what.
Well, you-
What you knew a year and a half ago, or 3 years ago, when you put this together and decided not to go look in the works, things have changed, so rapidly.
You were for
So I think it makes sense to do it now, especially with, this is a big project.
I was for a clerk of the works, like I say, a year ago.
You guys
Yeah, I recall an impassioned plea from the engineer or the architect who took it as a personal insult. We have someone there, and with this guy's getting cold feet, he thinks he's gonna
Yeah,
screw
that was
something up
a
now.
full-time $60,000 clerk of the works we're looking at.
There's a $30,000 clerk of the works now. I mean,
No, less than that, because you got the
I
system.
would support 70,000 full-time like I did then.
I move we sign the purchase order.
you need to mess.
I've been involved in too many of these projects that totally
Stop
go
it.
wrong.
Go
We have
ahead,
a
I'm
second.
sorry.
So this 27 includes the clerk of the works?
Includes 10 site visits.
Okay,
Review of
am I
fire
missing?
suppression.
Oh, it's based on this contract?
Yeah.
So moved.
So the other thing is, I just wanted to
guess we
touch
need
base
a motion.
along the same lines is, so I sent all of you an email a few weeks ago that,
With the church.
yeah, Chief Briggs had sent me the contact information. I reached out 2 or 3 times, didn't hear anything back. So, I mean, if you were looking for something other than the connection of the system, that possibly maybe the installation of said cistern.
Are they digging a new well over there anyway? Is that what they're doing now?
I believe they're just expanding the basement under the church.
Oh, okay.
But I don't know if any contact has been made with the church. If they're,
I can reach out if you want me to. I knew you were handling it.
yeah, like I
We need
said,
to
I
move on,
can-
Don. How many times that you can reach out to them? If they're not gonna go with the plan, that's okay, it's not a big deal.
I
Let's move
agree,
on.
I agree.
Let's move on.
Okay, we have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
There's a second. Further discussion.
Alessio?
Yes.
Briggs?
Yes.
Coombs?
No.
St. James?
Yes.
And Wilson?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
I guess one other question with this, we had discussed with Chief Briggs and Kevin, he was our last rep. So like, I got 3 bids to stump the site and remove the stumps off site. Are we as a building committee expected to come to the Board of Selectmen every time if it's within the building budget to go over the bids, seek your approval? Obviously, you need to sign purchase orders, but do you want us here on Monday night
explaining that to you, or you just want to see?
You mean if it's a budgeted item?
Correct. Okay, I just want to make sure, I don't want to block
I mean,
them.
that's my opinion.
So then, what we can do is every PO that we
Is there gonna be a guy watching us stump it, or that we didn't have budgeted?
Oh, you want to do it? So, I just want to make sure that I will write the PO, what account it's coming out of, give it to Cindy, attach a little note of what it is, maybe attach the other bids if you want.
I mean, the warrant article passed, so if it's under the budget, unless it's something that changed from the original plan, I don't see any reason for you to come back unless anybody else feels that.
Cindy set up a plan for them to file the purchase orders and stuff with.
Yeah, Cindy and I have talked, and Kelly is keeping a record on our end, so we have double everything. Cool. Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Ladies and gentlemen.
That now brings us to our first public comment portion.
Abby, did you have something to say? Here she is. Are you still muted? Can't hear you.
Who?
Abby Nathan.
Abby Nathan.
I think you need to unmute yourself. Looks to me like you're unmuted, but we can't hear you. I'm sorry.
I'm unmuted. Huh. I'm gonna put.
Try again, the channels were a bit crossed.
Okay, Adam says try again.
Okay, I'm gonna close
No,
this
she
down.
can't hear, and someone else in the room can hear her.
Okay.
See, my speakers.
Adam?
Yes. We can hear you in the control room. Hang on, we're gonna try to.
Sorry.
Are the speakers turned on? I think the speakers are on.
Like usual.
Yeah. No.
Maybe it's because
Are those turned on?
it's on. Hold on. Yes, we can. Okay.
I'm pretty sure that's outside of that area, isn't it?
I don't know that.
I know that came up specifically when the site manager came in here that night, and he had said it's well where this point of contention is well outside of where that is.
But is she saying they'll come and verify that? Maybe we should let them.
Who's gonna come and verify that?
But that's what she said.
Evan Lewis, DES.
I thought the original impetus for this whole thing was so they could access that pond area to do the full restoration because they couldn't access it fully.
That's what they've said all along.
I just,
I agree with that. I don't see why not. It may give us or the neighbors more ammunition accordingly. I don't know.
yeah,
I'd say if you could follow up, that would be great. That would be a help to us.
say again?
That would be helpful if you could follow up for us.
I can sure do that.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, good night.
Thanks, Evie. Anybody else, public comment?
A few things, your time, what's your agenda look like? I'll be back next week.
Got quite a bit here, but depends on what it is.
Anything pressing?
One thing, so through Ellie this morning, I guess we're gonna look at getting the fence done at the rec building. In order for me to get contract written and put it out to bid, I'm not gonna be able to follow your bid guidelines. I can call four or five people and get some bids in here and present them to you. You can award the bid, and then you can encumber the money. If you go through the entire process that's laid out presently, putting that in the paper, write an RFP, putting that in the paper, it's not gonna happen by December 31st, or even December 1st, it's just not gonna happen. So if you want me to move forward that way, I will. I'm just telling you, it's not gonna completely satisfy your,
Which part are you talking about, the fence for Sands Lane? Or the fence for Rec?
No,
fence at the rec center.
rec center.
Oh,
It's gonna be about, I'm gonna guess somewhere between 30 and 40 grand for the whole thing. Puts it up over that $25,000. I know it's gonna be over the $25,000 limit you guys have put on the, the bid, how you want things bid out.
so we either encumber the funds and go through the process?
No.
You can't do that.
You can't. You have to have the bid in mind.
That's kind of like I've been asking the last 2 or 3 months what you guys want to do. It's getting too late now. In order to...
First thing I've heard about it, the rec fence.
It was a approved project that we told the highway department and all other departments kind of freeze their budget and not do anything. And Rich did that. And then he hasn't heard anything back to the select board.
It was discussed, maybe you weren't here, it was discussed in this room.
It was.
In March.
It was.
So,
I mean, that dollar amount, I mean, I would have liked to have been able to hold over, but the money's just gonna revert to the general fund anyways. I'd rather budget it for next year and go through the bid process or something that big. There's a reason it's in place. It's too late. It's not no fault of yours.
Yeah, I agree with Kevin. I think there are emergency situations where sometimes the rules have to get circumvented or bent, but I think for a fence,
I'm okay with that. I'm just telling you, I can't really, that's why that's the one thing I really, I can't do it.
Okay.
Also, fence work right now is sky high. I talked to somebody, got
Everything for building and
fencing
contracting.
is outrageous, though. They're charging like 5 times what post costs because they're hard to get. I mean, it's just ridiculous right now.
The only other thing, really, I need to start moving on is plow routes. I can't find people with big trucks that want to work. We talked about, you know, I lost the one truck driver. We do have a spare truck. I'm looking at hiring a part-time person to operate that vehicle just during snowstorms during the winter. I'm going to be moving forward with that. So don't be surprised if I'm not in next week with the recommendation. We hire a person for a certain amount of hours to run the town truck. We'll probably have to supply the workman's comp, things like that. You know, it's.
You've already mentioned that that was going to be a challenge anyway because of the rate.
Yeah. So I'll probably get you next week for the recommendation we hire someone. So, you know, I don't see where the way around it.
The highway department can't hire people for the state roads. They're calling people everywhere, trying to find people.
And the state is paying a lot more money.
Yeah, I know, they can't find people.
And they're guaranteeing money that the town is guaranteeing.
Do you see that as something that's going to become an issue?
Absolutely. I'm thinking about amending the budget this year for snow plowing, just for that reason. We need to go up on the rates. The East Kingston, I believe, has hired someone for $150 an hour. And they're guaranteeing that truck at least 10 hours a month for 6 months. 10 hours every 2 weeks, so 20 hours a month. Guaranteeing that. So the month of November, they're guaranteed to have the equipment there and be available. We're not anywhere near that. We used to be towards the top on pay for contract plow, we're no longer there. So it's something that's got to be addressed. But the rest of it, I'll be on the agenda and talk to you next Monday. Thank you.
Thank you, Rich.
Thank you and good night.
Old business. There's a guidance / policy for employee travel during COVID-19.
There was, I believe, two. There was, I had one from the county and you had one from East Kingston.
Yep.
I don't know what you want to do. I know Cindy thought that the one from the county was more simple and straightforward.
Whichever one, we need a policy.
We need something in place for sure.
Sooner than later.
And it would be my suggestion that whatever we adopt, it goes out to every employee with a cover letter that states, I have read the town policy and agree to abide by it, and have that sent back into the selectman's office, so we have a record of it.
I'm okay with that.
That probably ought to be true with everything we send out.
Yep.
And changes the policy.
Yeah.
Or adopts the policy.
So which one are we doing?
I believe there's a back page of this one. Employee travel guidance policy, one single page.
Yeah.
And this was yours, you had this one, right, the 2-page?
Yep.
3-page. So you got the choice of these two.
You want a motion to adopt this one? We want to date it 11/30/20.
Which one?
The one you just had, the single sheet,
Okay.
11/30/2020.
I'll second.
Okay, we got a motion and a second. Further discussion? None. Roll call vote, please.
Alessio?
Yes.
Rick?
Yes.
Coombs?
Yes.
St. James?
Yes.
And Wilson?
Yes.
All in favor?
New business, sale of town land.
Had an inquiry about one, someone's been in here before, so probably time to figure out what your procedure is going to be.
I believe I was tasked with coming up. I mean, I just picked up the other day, not the other day, a week ago, 2 weeks ago, the article that passed, and this is new to me, the Barringtons that has one.
I looked that up for an example of what you need to do. It seems pretty good, pretty straightforward, but you can tweak it however.
There's a bit of work in there to do this right.
They have a land committee who does the preliminary work. Mark Barrington does.
Can we review this and talk about it next week? Sure.
It's going in the right direction to get a policy in place, and that way we have, and that would address some of the things you always feel about, dispersing property that we don't, that are not funded, generating revenue.
Just creating problems. Okay, so can I get a motion to table that discussion?
Until next Monday's meeting. So moved.
Motion by Ellen. Second by Rich. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Next item in new business is changes to town hall procedures in response to COVID spread.
I don't know why this is even up for discussion. I don't think we need to make any changes at this time, to be honest with you. We've got all kinds of plexiglass in place and security measures, and unless the governor does something, I don't know that we really need to do this.
I think the question that has come up is with the procedures that we put in place, when would we implement not allowing people to just come in? So it would be they buzz in at the door, they're buzzed in, and if there's more than one person at a station, we would take their cell phone number down and they could wait until that person came out. And, am I getting that correct?
Yeah, if you did that, and what, the selectmen would set the date, okay, next Friday or whatever, but also things like where would you want to put the drop box? Would you want to do it in the kitchen with, those types of things. So at least it's set up, so if and when that decision is made, this could happen.
If we approve this, it's gonna go into place. Now, I'm one person. I think this is unnecessary.
I think the minimum we need to do now is because we've got a lot of people coming in to the town clerk's office and they're congregating at the end of the hall. So we need to do something to meet the requirement.
Put some X's on the floor for 6 feet and then bring them outside. Done.
And I think the drop box became very problematic last time because people were claiming that they dropped something and it wasn't there. I think with the window that we put in for the selectman's office, I think and the town clerk with the glass, if there's anything that needs to be turned into the town, we can at least log it. Because fortunately it wasn't anything major, but there were a couple things where people were claiming they put it in that drop box. That was just an impromptu thing that thankfully the highway guys were able to put together for the building guys. But I think given the mitigations that we put in place,
If you want to put a lock on the kitchen door so that the public don't go in there, I don't think it needs to be
I'm probably the most active public that goes in there, and I won't go in there anymore. It's my unofficial office, if you will.
But
We've been locked out of the office.
Yes, we have, and I don't drink the coffee there anyway, so.
I would agree with, I mean, we don't have anything yet. I mean, we do have to decide what we want to do for meetings because we do have, for budget committee, we have decision day, public hearings coming up. We're gonna have to figure that out. But right now, nothing has changed. It's speculative. You know, I think 6-foot distant marks, and once there's enough people in there,
Out the door.
out the door.
The problem with that is you can't get the 6 foot because people have to pass going in and out.
You have that now in the stores that have aisles going in one
You
direction.
don't have an out go 2 ways or the other way. In other words, what are you gonna do? Bring them up and out the front door?
But even in the store, even with the aisle going each way, there's people going all over.
I mean, everybody should have a mask on.
Anyway.
Right, supposed to have a mask. The idea is if you can't social distance inside, you're supposed to have a mask, or, you know.
Well, our rule is a mask no matter what.
That's correct, no mask, no service.
Right.
So they should all be wearing masks coming into the town hall.
This was just to prepare if it needed to happen.
I think the locks are worth installing because at the very least on the town force.
That's a lot.
Not the punch code one.
Oh, I see.
So someone else can get in there. I have seen it myself where people who have nothing, they're not doing town business, but they're just utilizing the break room as a conference room. Someone's doing
I'm guilty of that.
No.
That's inappropriate.
Well, it is, but I mean,
That does a couple things too. Locking that door prevents anybody from coming up here, you know, backdooring it up here. It adds another layer of security to the rest of the building.
I think it's in line with the other steps you've taken. I don't think installing 2 more knobs or the keyed access to that, you know.
I don't have a problem with that. The other stuff, I think,
I think a drop box was problematic. I think that was we did it because we had to. I think we have enough other options on that. I guess the big question in this is, I would think that it'd be an order from the governor stating, you know, where they told us to go to virtual meetings. They gave that guidance to us, and I think to do it beforehand is kind of acting from a place of we don't have enough information to be making that kind of call.
We might get to that point, especially after Thanksgiving, never mind Christmas. I mean, come January, we might have to. It's a different ballgame. I just don't want to jump down the town.
The point of this is not to do it today and tomorrow, but to be prepared if we need to do it.
No, I think it's great questions, and that's what I'm asking is what is our drop dead point? Probably bad choice of vocabulary in that.
I think we need
our trigger to institute, you know, where people aren't crossing each other in the hall or anything like that, because
I agree with that because last time we took a lot of criticism for doing it when it was a governor's order. And
I'm waiting for the governor's order before we do any more restrictive. The security, yes, I'll go with locking the door. That's about it.
one other security question is I walked in that door last week, walked in, unlocked, got the plans out of the planning board office that was locked. I had to use a key to get in there, but then I went downstairs to tell the people that door was open. They knew nothing about it, no one had been here or anything, so I don't know how long that door had been unlocked. But we need some kind of policy that the last person that leaves the building checks the doors or something.
Well, and that's, another question is perhaps that one could be an access control lock as well?
Yeah, you'd have to ask Rich for that one.
What do you want now?
The front door, access control.
Keypad, so it automatically, well, no, it's not gonna solve it, because if you unlock it for right now, if no one locks it back.
That's a whole different, I would have to ask the locksmith what's available for that style door. That's a completely different door than what you guys are talking about downstairs.
Well, we should know who's
Downstairs,
coming.
there's standard doors.
should know who's coming in and out.
Yeah, but like right now, if we unlock it for tonight's meeting or a planning board meeting or anything else, if no one locks it back, you're in the same position.
You're gonna be the same problem changing that.
And I will tell you, last night I came to the budget committee and the alarm wasn't set.
Why?
I don't know. I came in and the alarm wasn't set.
Well, maybe we need to
If I forget
memo
that-
to all the board chairmen saying, please,
Yeah.
remind them that they gotta check the alarm and check the doors.
I mean, I gotta say, I've been coming in and out of here for 10 years, so it's the first time I've caught that happening,
Doors are always locked.
Was the alarm? Oh, no, they were.
but no, they were working downstairs, but when I went down there and told them the door was open, they said, no one's been up there.
Well, why don't we just make it where that door is locked? And then, like the sign says, enter from the back door. There's a sign on it right now that states that this door's locked.
Let's see if it's a real problem. One time is not a real problem.
I get it. I just think we need to come up with a traffic flow, a pattern, so nobody's using that door anymore. And it's just enter from the back. And I think that's what the policy is that we drew up for COVID anyway. So we just need to be adhering to that policy.
Well, when you say, you mean like public, or you talking employees too?
If we're having a meeting in here, then that door's open. But other than that, for day-to-day business,
Remains locked all the
it
time.
should be, everybody's coming in that door.
I don't know where that.
I hope you guys are doing that.
It's
too.
this. It's those right there. Yeah, they can't be that close.
Well, it's been like that all night, and that didn't happen.
This is the refurb bill.
I do want to say, I want the employees to feel that if there's something that isn't being addressed, that they feel is a concern for this, it should be brought up and, but I think this board and the highway department and building and grounds guys were very proactive in putting in measures to protect our employees, because we all kind of anticipated that this would flare up again when the cold weather came, and it now has. So we've put the groundwork in there. If there's things we have to do to fine tune that, so be it. But I think, we're in a much better position than we were in March.
Well, part of the reason we had to shut down too is so we could implement all those things, get all that done.
But I mean, I'm hearing from the rest of the board that short of a governor's order instructing us to shut down municipal offices that they had last time, we're going to keep it open and just mark socially distanced spacing in front of each window. And I guess it's going to be the employees, if it becomes a problem where people are just hanging out in the hall or things like that, then we can address it at that time.
You could probably get some cardboard letters, numbers, you could take a number.
Probably a box back there.
What do you think about the meetings, the remote meetings? I think it's gonna come up because of what you said, like, decision day and
Well, those are bigger meetings in January. I don't know that we're gonna go, I'm not in favor of going to all remote. But
Yeah,
not this.
we gotta wait and see if something happens.
Planning's still meeting remotely.
Right, zoning board does not, we're a small group.
Yeah.
This one does
Yeah,
not.
this is gonna be a big meeting though, so.
Well, that's different. Now, the decision day is different because you get the two big boards. And we're not gonna have the space to do that even at the school, right?
I mean,
And that only works if everybody's on Zoom. The only reason the planning board works is because everyone is in front of his or her own computer
Right.
on Zoom, not on a phone, because when it's on a phone, then you get the reverberations, it doesn't work. But if you want to hear clearly and participate equitably, we all have to be on Zoom. So if that's what decision day looks like, so be it. Because that's a large group. I don't think there's going to be too much option in that. We can't do it in here.
either that or the next biggest place is the auditorium at the high school.
That's a possibility, or you have the decision day, and then you have the public hearing.
Correct. And then you have town meeting.
Then you have deliberative session.
Yeah, deliberative.
Maybe if we had it out in the parking lot, it'd be a lot quicker.
Hell yes, too goddamn cold.
There is,
What do you got to say, Mr. St. Hilaire?
You can set up an awful lot of people at Swayze Gym. You've got, I think it's a total of 17 people for your board, in the budget committee, board of selectmen, town clerk, and moderator. I believe it's 17 people you normally set up. So you'd have a hell of a front table, spaced out every 6 feet. But then you've got the rest for the.
But you can't record it there, right? Or can we remote record, I guess? Yeah.
No.
To broadcast, we could broadcast in the high school, right?
From the auditorium we could,
yeah, the auditorium.
but not from Swayze Gym.
So, Don, you're our technology liaison there. Would it be possible for you to speak?
Wouldn't you?
There is no public input during a delivery session of decision day. There's no public in any of those meetings. I've been here for 35 years, folks.
Yeah.
Well, deliberative you get about 50 to 75 people.
And they're all part of the town or one of the book.
That is true. That is true.
So.
Well, but we always did broadcasts, because some people have gotten in their cars and driven down here to say we're not going to broadcast it.
You've got a $30 million school with an auditorium that seats 600 people.
That would be the best option.
You could see if you could use that auditorium for those 2 or 3 days for decision day.
Public hearing.
Public hearing.
And deliberative.
Deliberative session.
Those 3.
I think we might want to ask that. I don't know.
And I believe you can take and transmit from there if you want to pay their technology people, because they're way ahead of the town as far as equipment, budget, and people that can do it.
Well, when you have an unlimited budget, it's easy to do that. So, lined up.
And that is, just so everyone knows, keep your calendar open, January 9th, 10th, and 16th. So that's just the 16th. The 16th is the warrant articles, public hearing.
Okay, well, that's another meeting. Then you get deliberative session.
Then you get the deliberative is
26th?
the 21st? No, informational review.
First of February.
First Saturday in February.
Saturday, January 30th is deliberative.
Oh, okay, so it's a...
January 30th. According to the calendar I have.
Okay.
So there's 4 days. You know, I think if we set up the stage, theoretically, you could probably put one big line across the stage.
Having sat on that stage with the school budget committee and the school board, it's a tight fit.
But you don't have 8 and 8. You're only, well, actually no, it's a big budget committee.
You could have a budget committee in front row and selectmen row behind it.
Or sitting in the audience.
Throwing stuff at them.
All right, so moving forward, Dawn's going to follow up on that.
Okay.
It's good that we're thinking of it now and not waiting till the week before, so that's
Right,
good.
I agree.
Committee liaison reports.
I'll start to say tomorrow night, Saddle Up will be at the planning board meeting if anybody wants to zoom in.
Oh, I have to watch that.
Okay.
Budget committee got a few things actually. That takes care of those dates. Make sure you mark your calendar and available then. Are we doing, what is the will of the Board of Selectmen for pay for performance? What do we want to do? The 3%, 4%? Whatever we put doesn't mean all the employees are getting that for a raise. Again, it's just a pool of money that we set aside. So the question is, do you want me to have Cindy do a 3% figure or 4% figure or
2%.
Or whatever? And then do we want to do, last year we include that line for salary adjustments. Do we want to leave that there again or not?
I think it should be 3%, no salary adjustment line.
Okay. So is that
3% no salary adjustment?
Yeah.
I mean, we've adjusted all the salaries. I was under the impression that we were good this year.
I think we are.
Well,
And
But I
let me
think the 1% extra on the pay for performance would allow us to.
I just want to clarify, I think I understand it, but let's just say Rich has got 8 guys and he gets 3% for every one of them. He can divvy that up as he wants to, more or less. He doesn't have to stay within the 3%.
Well, typically the select board would instruct the department heads what the percentage would be, and it's been 2% in
But
the
I mean,
past.
say he's got 8 guys, or say 10, just to make it easy. If he wants to give this guy 6% and this guy nothing, he has the ability to do that, right?
Well,
As long as he stays.
yes, he's given that authority, but the reason the extra 1% allows us is, what's happened in the past is there have been people who have gone above and beyond, and
I understand it. I'm just clarifying the fact that a department head can do what he wants to with that once we decide what that money is.
yes. I suppose.
no.
Okay.
No?
No, because as part of the review process, what happens is the department head will do the review on all of their employees, and then they will meet with the board of selectmen and basically go through their employees and give their recommendation to the board. The board will have the final authority. I can't think of any instance where we haven't gone along with the department
Right,
head.
but I'm saying if he comes into us and says, employee A has been, doing outstanding, doing this, employee 10 is doing nothing. I want to give this guy 5%, this guy nothing, we're okay. I mean, we can okay that.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Because that's what you just said. The department head makes the recommendation of what he or she wants to do for their employees, and we get to endorse it.
Correct.
I'm just making sure we're not taking that ability away from the department head.
Right, 'cause I don't think we should have.
I don't either. That's my point.
So 3% for pay for performance across all salaries?
Yes.
Doesn't mean we have to spend it all.
No, correct, no. And that does not mean the employees are getting 3%. That's just the pool that we're gonna have
Is a
for the
3%
department heads to figure out and the selectmen to concur with.
Yep.
Okay. And then the only other thing, because I will say, we had the budget committee the other day, and everyone is talking Hampstead study, you adjust the salary, you're gonna do these salaries. So that's the buzz everywhere, all right? One of the persons that made a comment, and I'm just letting you know, I don't, either or, but the town treasurer, who was here earlier, she's been making $7,800 since 2004. I don't know if that's right, wrong, or not, but she's been getting the same amount since 2004. I know some other elected officials have changed their rate on their own. She did not, but she was just asking. So I don't know if the board wants to do anything or not do anything.
And I might as well throw out the town moderator, since I'm no longer the moderator.
Yeah.
We pay nothing to the town moderator, whereas other towns pay them $100 per election, for example. Just saying, we pay nothing.
Would $100 be better?
Yes, it's better than nothing. And I'm gonna say that more for the elections. I mean, when you saw what happened this year, that was huge.
No, there were 4 elections, and I don't think $400 comes close to even compensating for the amount of time.
I totally agree, but
It's like almost like
Ham sandwich wasn't enough?
you can't, no, ham sandwich is not enough, but yeah, if we have 4 elections this past year, we're gonna have 1 next year, we're gonna have 3 the year after. I don't think $100 per election is unreasonable. Because it really labor of love, and I use that word in quotes.
No, that's,
For someone that's done it for 35 years, I think it's only labor of love. I don't know. I would recommend that we do that.
I'm asking, so is there will of the board here?
I think maybe our colleagues would like to think about it, and then we make a decision next Monday night.
Well,
Unless you want to,
I think there should be probably a little more thought put into it than an arbitrary number thrown out there like $100 and
I'll tell you, I know that's what they pay in Hampstead, and I know that's what our school district pays our school district moderator, who just one deliberative session, now elections.
And as much as I want to be just like Hampstead in every way, shape, or
I don't know what Hampstead
I don't know
is.
why we're suddenly trying to imitate that, but,
So just food for thought, we can adjust that later, okay? But I am presenting the selectmen's budget, I just figured.
I'll take it upon myself to call some local towns to find out what moderators get paid in surrounding towns, in addition to Hampstead. I know Plastow, that's the only one I know.
Okay, and my only other point on the treasurer would be, in a year where we're trying to keep things down, you know.
I'm
not saying it's not deserved, but I think it's November 30th today. It's a little late to be coming up with this idea now, for both of them. I just say.
Well, it's budget cycle.
I get that, but that's my.
Okay.
I think there probably needs to be an assessment done on all of these paid positions that, you know, if we're making changes, it should be kind of, we're bringing everything in line. So we're not doing it piecemeal where we're doing this department this year, and we're gonna do this one next year, we're kind of doing this one, then all of a sudden
We
it's.
did all the departments this year, it looks like, and that's gonna hit the bottom line next year, and it looks worse than it really is.
It'll never be a bottom line. The fact is that Hampstead study is 4 or 5 years old now.
That's true.
Well, actually, it's dated 19th.
We need a Danville study. Less Hampstead, more Danville.
Go to Newton study.
Oh, you guys are bad.
Okay, and then I think that was it. Other than that, we already talked about different stuff for what we're assessing for water rentals and all that stuff. I think we're all in line with that. So, okay.
Can I have those dates again?
Yeah, it is January 9th,
1/9,
January 10th,
1/10,
January 16th,
1/16,
and January 30th.
1/30. Pretty much about the January.
I mean, keep in mind, if I don't anticipate it, but if there's a third decision day or there needs to be another public hearing, there's additional days, but those are definite must-have days.
Okay.
Don, you got anything? Ellie?
No, I talked with Rich this morning, but a couple things that he's going to meet with Susan to draft a warrant article for the other half of the secretary's position for next year. There's a warrant article to go full-time instead of the half-time that's been approved.
Actually, I don't know if you or the Board of Selectmen, but that was the next question for Rich's part-time salary position. Do we want to base it on, what are we gonna budget for? Is it gonna be 20 or 25 hours every week?
Well.
Oh, that can be done after too, but the warrant article is for
The
full-time.
hours are already budgeted.
No, I don't think it's limited.
No,
There's a part-time, I thought we were getting a full-time position.
we are going for full-time, but
There's
right
currently a part-time.
it's currently a part-time that's coming out of Don's department that Rich has budgeted, right? Your part-time is in your budget.
But it's limited, right, to 10 hours or whatever it is?
10 hours of overtime, it's 20 hours of pay.
15 hours, right?
I thought, I don't know, I'm not the expert on that. Rich, is it, do you know, remember?
10 hours.
10 hours of overtime, a time and a half.
If
It's
you-
15 hours of pay.
It's at 17,000 right now, I think.
Right.
Okay, and if you do, let's just say 20 hours times $15 times, well, 52,
$300.
that's 15,600. That's fine, that's at 20 hours. If you did 25 hours, it changes, and that's what I wanted to just question. 25 times 15 times 52, that's 1950. So it's at 17. I don't know which one. But then you wouldn't be hiring anyone till what?
That's
You
gonna be
can
a
hire.
warrant article,
you
and
can-
that's a different thing than what's in the budget. The budget's gotta be the 17 he's got now.
Yep.
So he could hire someone January 1 if he wanted.
He could, but is it enough? That's it. That's
It
the
may
question.
not be enough, Kevin, but you only have a part-time position. They might have to have less hours.
Okay, well, this one asking, you could budget now. Do you budget for 20 or 25 hours is the
He's
question.
got 17,000 in there,
Okay.
in his budget, for a part-time person. Now we're gonna do another 20 probably for the other half of the position.
I'm just saying if it doesn't pass, is 20 gonna get him what he needs?
It's better than what he's gotten, well, it's not better, but he'll have more hours.
You want my suggestion?
Yes.
You got a part-time position approved, voted on at town meeting. Part-time can be up to 32 hours. In this year's budget, put 32 hours at the $15 an hour. And then do the warrant article
Next
for the rest of the money.
A budget for 30 hours and then ask for warrant for 10.
That's what I'm saying. Does
So
the,
the warrant article would have to include the additional salary.
And
plus-
benefits.
plus benefits.
Health benefits, right.
So the benefits are, you got, benefits are number $30,000. I don't know exactly what that number is, but.
Yeah, but for half a year it would be 15.
my point, Ellie, is if it doesn't pass, he's stuck at 20 hours.
You know what? He doesn't have 20 hours
Yeah.
now, so let's not go down that road,
Okay.
okay?
I just want to make sure the department's taking care of
He's
this.
got 10 hours now. He could double the hours just by going normal rate of pay.
But I guess the point is, if it was approved at town meeting for him to have a part-time person, that would mean he can go up to 32 hours. The
That's
point
correct.
is, for budgetary purposes, it needs to be at 32 hours or 31 hours.
Right.
So that in the worst case scenario, if it does not pass by warrant article, he can still have someone up to 31 hours.
That's what I'm trying to say.
You weren't getting
Thank you.
Does that work, Rich? 30?
Yes.
Okay.
Did Dennis find the lot line person?
Anything else? You got anything else?
He told me he said
That's it.
24, I just didn't know.
Why were you fighting it?
Because I didn't see you go in there. I didn't get all of them.
I'm saying you don't have enough for a secretary.
And all I'm saying, he doesn't.
All right, so as far as
Okay.
inspectors, we did not meet on Thanksgiving Day. I gave you guys that morning off.
Slack it off.
But we are meeting this Thursday, and they're getting their ID badge pictures. So that'll probably be the bulk of that meeting. I have something I wanted to read here as requested. So each year, the town of Kingston has a Wishes holiday program to provide gifts to children from families with financial need. The holiday gift program is being done this year with two options: in-person choosing of a tag or a virtual tag option. For those wishing to pick a Wishes tag from the holiday giving tree, the tree is located in the town hall across from the town clerk's office. The unwrapped gift can be placed under the tree when returned. For those not wanting to avoid unnecessary contact due to COVID but are still interested in fulfilling a child's wish for Christmas, there is an Amazon gift registry set up where you can purchase a gift and have it sent directly to the town hall. Information about this and the link to this registry is located on the Human Services page of the town's website at www.kingstonnh.org. If you have any questions, please feel free to contact Ellen in the Human Services Department at 642-3342, extension 5.
Thank you.
All right, we're going to open bids for the information technology services. On to you.
Don't get too scared. Don't get scared.
No.
Yeah, no, it is, yeah.
How many you got, Rich?
I got 1, 2,
We get two.
There you go. There's two.
I know we're gonna do this, I would've brought my gloves.
We'll get paper cut.
White powder.
Looks like we might want to take these under advisement.
But you're gonna be, I can't even give you a bottom line on this one. You're gonna do a lot of evaluation. So I would make a motion, so we don't allow
Yeah, I guess it wouldn't make much sense.
the vice chair to review and evaluate the proposals and return with a recommendation. And the reason I'm picking the vice chair is he set up the RFP. Unless somebody...
You know what? We need to have someone else working on it.
Oh, Cindy, make a spreadsheet.
Well, you want to have him work with the IT from the schools?
Well, that's kind of what I think. Only because this is serious stuff.
It is, yeah, it'll have to be a spreadsheet because they're all going to be somewhat different as to what they're going to propose.
Correct. And you want to be sure you...
You want apples for apples, you got apples and oranges in here now.
Yeah.
Yeah, look at...
So I would suggest that Cindy make a spreadsheet with all of these.
Yeah.
Then you're absolutely right, I think we should bring in someone with
At
technology.
least one or two, maybe Mark Furlong, maybe Gordon Parks of the school.
Yeah,
First of all, did he bid it?
I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah, I think you're right.
But and that's no aspersions on you. I just think this is a big project and I'd like a few eyes on it. This is big.
Well, do you want the motion to set up the committee or something, or? Like, I mean, I could tell you, look at these two.
With the vice chair and two other community experts on IT.
There you go.
Sure.
Does that make sense to you?
Yeah, and I'll ask Cindy to do a spreadsheet.
Yes,
Is that
yes.
motion?
Yes, it is.
I can't even, I don't know about you, but I can't even give you a bottom line
Yeah,
on
it doesn't
these.
even have a number.
This one is very confusing. That one's got a bottom number per month.
Yeah, I have one at the bottom number per month, and the other has an hourly bill rate.
So the motion is for the vice chair and two community experts.
Disinterested community experts.
Do you want to list who we got bids from in the record?
Yeah, why don't we do that?
Okay, I have VC3 Technologies, is that correct?
I know one thing, one's twice as much as the other.
VC3, okay, and I also have Retrofit Technologies.
All right, I have Stellar Networks.
I have Armon Networks.
I have LT Technical Solutions and Block 5 Technologies.
I have Rockport Technology and is that Metro?
Maestro.
Technologies.
Well, that's good, we have a number of bids, I'm very pleased to see that.
Yeah, a lot of them.
It's actually going to require a lot of work to break this down.
Yes.
This is not a,
No,
this is going to be a lot of work.
it's not apples to apples.
No, it's not.
Could be an easy job. You're right.
This isn't an easy one, like building a fire.
It's not the what?
This is not the thing to go cheap on.
I totally agree. We're not even in the 20th century, we need at least to the 21st.
I can see prices here once or twice, but the other one is such a good item.
Thank you, Rich.
Here you go.
All right, we have public comment. Number 2.
too. Someone's here from Rockport Technology. Heard that.
Hey, can you guys hear me?
Oh, so he's holding up his hand.
Okay.
Do you have something to say, Anthony?
Oh, no, just wanted to let you guys know that we were here if you had any questions or concerns or anything to go over that we could help with.
Okay, yeah.
These are on the bid, that's on the bids?
On the bids, yeah. You heard them. They want to have, take a look at them with a couple of people who know what they're looking at.
Okay.
And we still may call you for questions.
Yeah, I mean, we're happy to review anything that can help, even if it doesn't end up being Rockport, so to speak. We came on the tour, and when we were speaking to Chief Briggs and meeting people, it just became bounce questions off of, et cetera. I'm happy to do that.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks.
He was not one of the bidders, right?
Yeah, he was.
Oh, he is one of the bidders, okay.
He's the one we used to help us with it.
Oh, okay, he had to put the proposal together, okay.
All right, so we have, a CARES Act grant, because the government cares.
That we need to accept in Tammy's bid.
Yeah, there is $3,109.68 from the state of New Hampshire for the reimbursement for the primary election.
So moved.
Okay, got a motion?
Motion to accept the grant?
Yeah.
Except the unanticipated funds.
Okay.
Yeah.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Guys have it.
All right, and then we have an abatement request. We have two of them here. And I will let the board read these as they go around. I'll sign. I believe that's everything. Does this need to be non-public, this message from Sumner, or is this already a matter of public?
I just got that today. If you wanted to pursue that, if you want to do it next meeting, that's up to you. We had a lot tonight, so.
Yeah, let's just cover this real quick in a non-public session afterwards. Take a motion on the minutes.
I move we adopt the minutes, both public and non-public, from the last session.
Second.
Okay, motion second. All those in favor? Aye. Aye.
One abstention.
Aye.
Kevin.
Opposed? Abstain? All right. Minutes pass. All right, motion to go into non-public?
Is that for the abatement?
No.
Just for legal.
No abatement there.
A legal update.
The abatements are right here. They're going around.
Okay.
Rather than me read this encyclopedia.
I'll second that. Going to non-public.
I need a motion.
I think
Okay, motion? Second?
Sure, yeah.
Okay. That will conclude the public portion of this evening's meeting. Thank you for joining us.